I would just like it if he just went back and just started cooking dinner, just mid. Just
I was actually contemplating that because I made a really good salad and I didn't have time to eat it. So I was like, maybe I'll just go back there and just whip it up on stream.
He has a headset microphone.
Man eats salad. What are you doing?
I'm vegan. Come on, that's all we get.
What's up,
ew.
Salad in that box.
Salad is what my food eats.
Yeah.
Is that a vegan cookie? Gross.
They're so good. What are you talking about?
Okay,
You look like you have your setup on top of a piano. That's what it looks like. You're about to play us a ballad.
You gonna play us out some tunes?
Holy God! Okay, we are.
Half of my setup, unironically, is on top of a piano. Like everything.
Hang on. There is a huge echo here.
Is this me?
I don't hear an echo.
Me?
I don't hear any echo. Is it me?
Is it me?
I don't hear
me?
I don't hear shit.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
No.
Cynic, have you got the stream open on 2 tabs?
I don't.
Well, this is
There
a
we
great
go.
opening.
Sorry. Yeah. It was
Chat,
on my end.
you can be the judge, chat. If chat hears an echo, then obviously weighted numbers proves it
No,
right.
it
If
was,
not,
it was just on my end. I got it.
That was crazy.
Cynic, you definitely had a second tab open, and you're just not telling us. That's the only.
Oh, I'm
explanation.
sure I did. Yeah. I just started closing all tabs just in case. I'm sure I had a second tab open.
I love when that happens when there's like some random tab you have open somewhere starts playing like music. And you
Oh
have no
yeah, I
idea
just
where it
started
is.
closing out everything. I was like,
Yeah,
fuck
I
it.
just shut off my computer and just assume that it's
I didn't
you know.
realize we were live.
Oh yeah, we're live. Hi everybody.
What
Welcome
up?
to the Complaining About Indiana Jones 5 review live show. So we have other things on the docket, but that is probably primary thing to get to. My lovely co-host, the Little Platoon, joins me as always, as well as Dark Hour. Welcome back, Cannoli Sasquatch. Thanks for joining me. Second time on the show, I think.
Yep. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yeah, Bagface staple, new staple to the channel, as well as video editor. So
You let me out of the
Andrew's-
basement.
Actually, Andrew has disappeared, so fuck that guy. Copa
Hey, I
Cotania.
just showed up again. I was getting a Dr. Pepper, bro.
And Matt Cat 83, regular from Mr. Brown Alliance, and also a regular guest. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Oh, stream killer.
You're welcome.
Yeah, sure.
He pulled up around.
You got all the killers here, so.
I don't even know how to start this thing because there's a lot of us, and who liked the movie?
Yeah.
and that really is a stream killer.
I'm kidding.
Let me pull up my 7 pages of notes about why.
Like, can you think of one part that was actually enjoyable?
I like the first 20
ending
minutes.
credits.
There were
Like
two
maybe
shots that I
3
liked, and that was it.
isolated little bits of it that don't work terribly. I like the fact that they foreshadow. I like the fact they foreshadow something incredibly dumb with the dragons at the end with the little puppet play.
Oh yeah.
Because it's passed down in folktale in not Sicily. Where are they again? In Syracuse.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah.
That was okay. And he gets a bit sad at one point over some people who die. That was also good. And that's pretty much it.
I liked who I was before the movie started. I missed him.
So,
Yeah.
was anybody actually in like a theater that had more than maybe like 10 people in it? Because
No.
I had
No.
I would say maybe a dozen people.
My theater was wild. There was a group of like 8 like over 50-year-old men that snuck beer into the movie theater, and like they laughed at every joke, and it made the movie kind of enjoyable because
What joke?
I felt like one of the boys. I was just like, yeah, like it was an interesting experience.
I had a dude next to me, and it's like the thing I started my video out with that was in full Indiana Jones top to bottom cosplay.
Oh, he's a big.
Did he
fan.
take it off by the end?
I mean, I don't know because I never really like literally as soon as the movie ended, I got up and just beelined into my car. I was like, I'm getting the hell out of here. I don't want.
You didn't want to be seen in the theater.
There were 2 people that tried to start like a clap, and they were shut down by the rest of the theater.
Ouch.
It was sad, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna
But yeah,
Kitty clap for you.
That was
Should
kind of
we
my
go
experience.
through like overall opinions, and then we could take it roughly in order, I guess. Does that sound like a good way of going through it?
I mean, that sounds fair.
So who wants to go first? We're on your channel. I'm not going to host this one. Cynic, over to you.
Okay.
You
Well,
order.
everyone knows how I feel about the movie. If you're on my channel, you've probably watched my review. So you can skip over me. One sentence review. I fucking hated this movie. Dark Hour. What did you think of it?
Honestly, yeah, I guess I'll keep it brief too because we have so many people. I just thought it was pointless. There's no reason for this to exist. No one asked for it. It didn't have anybody worth watching in it at this point, and it was produced by a company that no one has any faith in. So it was a trifecta of uselessness.
So I rewatched the originals, and I really did not like the first two. I think Temple of Doom is like one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I absolutely hated it. And by the time I got done with, actually no, I didn't even watch Skull. But by the time I was done with those first two, I had brain rot, and then I just enjoyed the third one, and then I just continued to have brain rot, and I was just like, yeah, Indiana Jones, do whatever you want. And this was, I'm gonna be honest, I enjoyed this movie more than Temple of Doom. I really hate Temple of Doom.
Wow.
It's still not
Jesus.
good, but
Wow.
yeah.
I just want to fight Andrew right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Andrew, we're going to have a chat after this, young man.
Is Andrew the baddie?
I have refereeing experience. I can ref the match.
Am I the
so.
bad guy?
It won't go
we
long.
don't need a referee if we're just going to brutally mash
Yeah, it
it.
won't go long.
Pile on.
Yeah, that mustache won't save you, buddy. I'm sorry.
Pull the heart out of your body. Well, except I can't do that because you don't have a heart because you don't like Indiana Jones. So we can't really do that.
Listen, I'm sorry. I like the Mummy better.
I mean, the
Indiana Jones
mummy is great, but I mean, Indiana Jones. I mean, that's
The
I'm not even
Mummy-
have this.
The Mummy is a direct love letter to
Yeah, if there's no Indiana Jones, there's no mummy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
It's
glad.
the best Indiana Jones film to have come out since The Last Crusade.
Last Crusade is
True.
good. I like the Last Crusade.
Yeah.
But the other two, ugh.
Yeah, I would say that too. The Last Crusade is the only Indiana Jones movie I like.
What is wrong with you people?
Yeah, I don't
What is
understand.
this? Where am I
What's
right
going
now?
on?
What?
Now, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is by far the best one.
Yes.
out of
Well,
the
there you
trilogy.
go.
Definitely is, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
You
with,
gonna
with this film, like if you want to see Indiana Jones as a complete and total loser, this film is for you. Like
It's
if you
perfect.
ever wondered what he would look like as an alcoholic, this movie is for you.
Yeah. Grumpy old man, alcohol.
You want to see him as a curmudgeon that just yells at children? This is perfect. Perfect film.
And he
Yeah.
wants to die. It's
And he wants-
Yeah, yeah.
extraordinary. He
Yeah.
wants Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Is bored of life. Is even bored
Yeah.
of teaching about history. He just wants to die. It's
What's incredible. I'm sorry.
No, it's Last Jedi style characterization. The more you linger on what they do to him in this film, the closer it seems to that one. The only real difference is that one was more of a shock at the time because it was one of the first films which really went in for wholesale character assassination, whereas this one is a bit more predictable and it's repeating. But if you're just judging it side by side without like reference to the meta, then this is basically on that level. I think it's an appalling film.
Yeah, and it was the little things that bothered me too. Like he's asleep in front of a TV on a lounge chair. My Indiana Jones wouldn't even think of buying a TV, let alone falling asleep in front of one. And then on top of that, he acts like he doesn't even know what the date is and what the parade is for. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a historical moment, and he's just like, "What parade? Are you serious? We landed on the moon."
Yeah, right.
I didn't even think of it like that. I
Yeah.
did not even think of it. Like that.
It was
Yeah, me neither.
crazy.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. I did like some of the stuff in this movie. They're like, I did like the first 20 minutes. I did like that. There was but I did have like when that bomb drops through the roof and it's like sinking through the carpet and then it explodes and he's just dangling by his neck, just all like, "Hey, everybody!" I'm all like, "This is ridiculous." I feel like this should have killed him at this point, like broken his neck. And then, but I did like it. And then. Like, I like the visuals of the Tinker Tape Parade. I thought that was fun. But overall, I did not like this movie. It was really, really bad. And it's all
Wait, can I ask a question? And this is related to you fans of the franchise. Like, that part where he's dangling by his neck didn't really bother me because that seemed like very Indiana Jones to me. It seemed pretty fucking out there. So I was like, yeah, that seems like something that would happen in any Indiana Jones movie.
The dangling by his neck at the beginning of the film thing.
Yeah.
The bit where Indiana Jones, of all characters, forgets that he can just take the rope off from around his noose. The fact that the Nazis don't shoot him instead of hanging him, and then they try and shoot him later, and then they all forget they have guns. None of that happens in the original film.
No, but I'm saying to the argument that, like, oh, he, that should have killed him by hanging, swinging by his neck. I'm like, yeah. And then in like the very first Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? That's the first one when he like gets shot in the shoulder and then has a fist fight with a dude inside of a truck, gets thrown out of the windshield, hangs on the front of the truck, climbs underneath the truck, pulls himself back into the truck via a fucking rope by unbelievable superhuman
That was
strength.
awesome.
And then knocks the guy out. And I'm like, no, that's not far fetched at all. But the neck hanging, like,
this is ridiculous.
I can agree with that.
I don't know a huge number of people who would hold the neck snapping or non-net snapping thing out as the major problem with that scene. That's just compounding the other more important problems with that scene, which is that the scene isn't earned. There's no setup. It makes no sense in its logic. So the Indiana Jones has always been a bit out there in terms of the believability of some of its action sequences, but it does generally earn the luck that it puts on the screen. It's all a fairly consistent rule. Obviously, it's a silly-ish action thing. That's part of the fun of it. But it does earn its way to get to those places. The comparison would be if Indiana Jones is doing all the things you described in Raiders of the Lost Ark, while his head is being repeatedly smashed into a rock on the road at speed, and he survives that. That would be nonsensical, and I think then we'd have the same problem. The problem with the hanging scene at the beginning of this film, which for context, chat, that's when so the Nazis, they've caught him at the beginning. He's wheeled out of a van in a hood. He's unhooded. It revealed to be CGI monstrosity Indiana Jones de-aged. And then rather than shooting him, because that would be inconvenient for the film, they say, go up to the top of this really tall tower and hang him. And then an Allied bomb drops on the tower, and it goes all the way through the tower, and the tower collapses, and Indiana Jones is still attached to the rope, and then the rope dangles off, and he falls off, and so technically he's been hung. And then curmudgeonly nonsense happens, and he groans a bit, and it's just silly. The point is the silliness isn't earned in that situation, and that's the problem all the way through the film, so that's not comparable to the original film setting.
I think opening with Indiana Jones being saved by a Deus Ex Machina or Bombina, with a bomb just saving him from being hung from being hung from the Nazis, is just incredible. Like, you've always seen him try to outthink his way from death, but this one, it was just like, okay, well, a bomb falls into the middle of the floor and then it explodes and somehow he's saved. It just made it so not Indiana Jones. It was so intangible, especially with the CGI, with everybody exploding around him. It was awful to look at.
I'm gonna disagree with all of you. I don't know if we all watched the same original Indiana Jones movies. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's the beginning of Temple of Doom, where he jumps off a boat that explodes in the middle of the ocean, and then he's just like in the water, and it cuts to him just back in land having a conversation. These are like the most contrived, unbelievable Saturday morning cartoon movies that exist, but like that doesn't mean I don't like them. I like them. Like, if it's like going to a grade school art show and being like, where's the Mona Lisa at? It's like, you guys are looking for things that make sense in a thing that's not supposed to make sense. It's still bad. The newest
that's why I was giving
there are degrees of making sense. So one of the plot holes that always stands out to me in Raiders is he jumps off the boat. This isn't the one where the boat explodes, but he does jump off the boat, and the submarine has just left or is leaving. He swims to the submarine, and then we cut away, and he's in the secret Nazi submarine base. Now, there's only one way onto a submarine, and there's absolutely no way they could not have spotted him getting onto the submarine, and that doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me. But I'm prepared to forgive it because most of the film doesn't really take the piss in that way. And also, it's quite well-meaning, and also it's just generally light-hearted fun, as opposed to character assassination on top of nonsensical writing, which puts that to shame. And then massively contrived action sequences which do beat anything in any of the OT stuff. So it's about earning the grace of the audience. This film does not earn the grace of the audience in the way that the original films do.
Yeah, I would say there's like for The Last Crusade, which again is the only one I really like. There's a level of charm to it, and so like even at the beginning of that movie, when he jumps off the boat, it sinks, and he's in the middle of the ocean, and he finds a raft, and I'm like, okay, so you're still dead. But I'll allow that because you're a charmer. That's pretty much what you have to do with these movies. And with like Dial of Destiny, there's none of that there. So like all of the contrived situations, I just had no patience for whatsoever.
I honestly like. I kind of enjoy the character assassination now because it's like it feels like Kathleen Kennedy's like working out her daddy issues with like a $300 million budget. It's kind of funny. It's like the funniest aspect of the movie to me was like, fuck, she hates old white dudes.
Yeah,
she hates
dude.
them
She really
so much.
Spielberg really did her dirty, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, for real.
Made her go get coffee a few too many times, I guess.
Yeah.
He's her daddy.
Lucas told her to lose weight at one point, and she said, "I'll get you back for that one."
He's like, "Oh, it all went to my neck." Oh.
It's basically complete though at this point. She's completed the journey of destroying every IP they have. So
there's still Howard the Duck, dude.
No,
I mean that was ruined already. So
I'm pretty sure she could do worse.
She doesn't have. She if anything that she might actually accidentally improve that one. But yeah,
nothing tops the 1980s Howard the Duck movie. Fuck you. That movie's amazing.
I do like that movie.
Hot take. Apparently Howard the Duck was better than Indiana Jones. There we go. Now,
I don't know if that's a hot take.
I don't
know.
That's
apparently what you're saying.
But I don't know if Harrison Ford definitely doesn't give a shit about his characters.
Oh, no.
All he cares about is the zeros behind his paycheck. And I've posed this question, which is, who hates his characters more that are legacy, him or Kathleen Kennedy? And I honestly do not have an answer for that. He's not completely blameless in this. He should have read this script and thrown it back and said, absolutely not. I saw what you did with me in Star Wars. I'm not doing it again.
I mean, in a way, though, it'd be like I almost can justify it more for him because he's probably sick of everyone for the last 50 years being like, Han Solo, Indiana Jones. Probably like, yeah, kill me. Kill me off, please, for the love of God.
Make me a loser. Make me a loser alcoholic, please.
Yeah. So, supposedly, for like it was always like the thing that people said that he hated Han Solo. He always hated that character, which is ironic because he's a pilot in real life. So you'd think he'd like the character who was like the pilot smuggler. But he always maintained that he loved Indiana Jones, and clearly that's not the case anymore. So I don't know where that happened. I don't know where he. And I could understand like. The Star Wars fans are pretty overwhelming, especially more recently. But like throughout his career, yes. But like the Indiana Jones fans are always seemingly way more like respectful toward him. And so I'm not really sure where this switch flipped for him, where he just didn't give a shit anymore about the legacy of the character.
I think he just doesn't give a shit anymore. Full stop.
I agree.
That's probably the reason. If you look at the films that he's taking on, the roles he's taking on. These are just final paydays because care homes are expensive. It's not actually any kind of investment in his characters. People often say that, how Indiana Jones was one of the few characters that he really did like. And I think probably once upon a time, even that was true. But, if you've reached the age of, 80,000 years old and you've been there and you've seen it all and you've done it all, and all you really want is a bit of cash, then you'll, fuck it, take the role, kill the character. I don't really blame him in that sense because there are loads of cynical people around, and you could still have made him better if you'd written the character better, because he could take the role either way.
It's literally a guy next to you. It's very cynical. So.
A little bit.
Kathleen Kennedy deserves more of the blame just because she has the creative role and she hires the creatives and she oversees all of these projects. And so, you could have had a really well-written Indiana Jones and Harrison Ford would have taken it for the money just as well, but it would have come across better because the character might actually have lived up to people's expectations as opposed to, dying. But that's not what they did. So instead we get another much-loved old hero bought low by the demands of modern media. Good fun.
You guys didn't think I know everyone's really sad that he was just okay with dying, but you don't think it's kind of like fitting for an archaeologist to be like, I'm in ancient Rome. I'll stay here and die. It seems like it was okay to me.
No, because
it was for me, a little bit, yeah.
No,
go ahead.
It See, and this is the part that bugs me the most, is that he has a time traveling device in his possession now. He just described that he would save his son from dying in Vietnam. And then at the end, when he gets to ancient Rome in Sicily, he goes, you know what? I think I'll just sit here and die.
Yeah.
Instead of going back to saving his son.
So,
Well, didn't they say with the dial that
Yeah.
they figured out there was only one place that this was
Yeah.
going?
it's a little confusing because at first they said that because of continental drift,
Right.
you couldn't possibly
Yeah.
calculated any of this. It's not possible for. I mean, first of all, how would anybody know where that was anyway?
No, it's basic algebra, dude.
Yeah.
Just gotta
Easily.
I'm looking
Divide
at
by continental drift.
But then in the same, within 10 to 15 minutes of the script, they're like, oh no, this was the spot you were always meant to come to. I even said it in my review.
That also
I
means
don't
that's
understand
predicting
how
the
you can have
future.
two explanations as to why you ended up in the wrong place, but apparently they did it. Yeah.
That just goes to show you that the writers don't give a shit. They didn't talk it over. They didn't think it through, any of this.
Nope.
There's such an easier improvement to any of that, and it goes through his son. I mean, they went painstakingly detailed about his son dying and how he would bring him back, and they just never follow through with that plot line, which would have actually been a better plot line to follow if it was all about him trying to get both dial pieces just to bring back his son from dying in Vietnam. But he has no motivation whatsoever. It's literally Helena Shaw drives this movie forward, and he's kind of along for the ride throughout the whole film. There's no motivation for him other than her.
Oh
No,
yeah, there's a huge difference. So if you compare the way that Mutt is introduced in Crystal Skull, I can't believe this film has made me say nice things about Crystal Skull. But
Right.
When they introduce Mutt in Crystal Skull, Mutt he's headstrong, he's irrational, he's physically competent, he's quite skillful in terms of that kind of the action sequence stuff, and that's his role in the script. But he's completely out of his depth when it comes to the kind of work that Indiana Jones does. And so Indiana Jones takes the lead in that. He's the mentor figure. Mutt can hold his own in a fight, and he backs him up. But Indy's the one who leads the plot, leads the discovery, solves the riddles, and gets them to the temple with the crystal skull right at the end. So Indy is pivotal in that film, and he leads it in a way which just isn't replicated. Because in this film, you've got Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character, who's Helena Shaw. She is the daughter of the obligatory British professor that all of these films have to have in them at some point. She already knows absolutely everything that he knows. She's also, her stunt double is physically capable. So she can fight, she knows everything, she quips all the time, she's more intelligent than he is, she's quicker on her feet, she's better in a fight. So he has no role at all.
She's resourceful, daring, beautiful, and self-sufficient, according to herself.
She's a perfect person. Yeah.
I felt like when they dropped the line where he's like, "You memorized all your dad's journals?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, they're setting up a plot point for later." When she's like, "Oh, I didn't know this," but no, she actually just memorized all the journals, which is fucking crazy.
If you just stripped her character out and replaced her with Short Round, and we open up with them hunting for the dial, and then they run into the Nazis. In 1969, as he's trying to save his son, as he's desperate to get this trinket that will take him back in time to save his son, infinitely better plot already. And it's just
Mutt's death was only used to
Write off
as some sort of way, to write off the character, really just explain why Shia LaBeouf isn't here. But it was story-wise, it was only used as a way to get Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character to be like, "Aw, Indy's a person."
Yeah,
and
to have any
Yeah.
empathy.
that's
for
the
him at all,
only thing they used to
He
get
had a
her to
son.
explain why she changed her mind and went from capitalist to nationalist.
Because she
And
tries
I
to
said
get him killed 3 times throughout the course, at least 3 times during the course of this film. She tries to get him killed. Which is she's just an evil person all the way through.
she absolutely is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
She is.
Somebody in the chat said, it was Dave L in the chat, just said Short Round was probably killed in occupied Manchuria during World War II. or was interned. Was interned according to the.
I was thinking one potential better one is that Short Round kills Mutt during the Korean War because he's on the side of the Chinese, and then you have the maximum amount of tragedy. You've killed all of the characters in one go.
They're all gone. Yep.
I said in my review, I was like halfway through the movie, I was like, "Is she the villain?" Like, is she actually like? I know there's Nazis everywhere killing random people, but she kind of feels like the antagonist in all the plot ways you could think of. It's really awkward.
They kind of kept like bopping her from side to side when it came to like, oh, now she's going to do something that's sort of like altruistic, like when she did the whole like using her knowledge to like distract Mads Mikkelsen and all that. Like there was the moment where they did that, and then they throw her right back to the other side, like, oh, don't worry, I'm still in charge, we're gonna get this. It's like it was tonally flip-flopping her every like 5 to 10 minutes, which makes it impossible for you to get gather any kind of beat on what the character is supposed to be.
Yeah, it was terrible.
You'd
Bad
think
writing.
if they wanted like strong women, they just
Strong women.
like ray it and be like, oh, she's just the best and always altruistic. But it's like they tried to play the line to be like, haha, we got you. You guys can't say that we did a Mary Sue this time. You're like, no,
Right.
No, you kind of did.
I can at least give him credit for that. She wasn't the flat out like insufferable like hyper feminist that I was expecting. That was the one like there wasn't like, you know, all of the beat by beat, you know, oh, men did all this in history and all, like they didn't do that, which I thought was going to be in it for sure.
Yeah, you would think that she would know all the things about the tombs that they would go into and what meant what, and she had to describe it to Indy because she memorized somehow 7 notebooks of her dad's notes and stuff like that, which is ridiculous in itself. But yeah, I do have to give the movie credit. They toned down the feminism, but it is still there.
Who gives a shit? She was fucking taking over the entire film, and that's not what we paid to see. So I don't even care about that. Like, she saved Indy. The entire third act was Indiana Jones shot in the shoulder, sitting and waiting to be rescued by Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Her riding that motorcycle and jumping onto the fucking plane landing gear. Oh my god, fucking! I would believe if Harrison Ford's 80-year-old corpse did that shit. It was more unbelievable to watch her pull that.
Her do it, yeah. That was.
They definitely had this thing where like top speeds of various like vehicles and stuff didn't make sense. Like the rickshaws they were on.
Dude, those
like,
rickshaws were
apart. And he literally was outpacing a train on horseback at one, and it wasn't like an old school like steam engine train. It was a more modern like subway
electric train. Yeah,
that was crazy.
And it was a metro train. So just can I confirm that I'm no longer revealing my true nature as an AI? Is this sound better now?
So, yeah, you sound human enough.
Just to confirm, somebody in the chat, no, she was still insufferable, just not in the same way I expected.
Oh yeah, no, in all the other ways, which in some ways were worse than that, because her role in the plot really demeans him by its very nature. The train point, because so the scene we're talking about, Indy, oh god, how do you even describe all of this shit? So the CIA are working with the main bad guy, who is a former Nazi, who is actually still a Nazi. They've been tailing Helena Shaw because they know that she's going after Indy because they want to get the dial so the Nazi can use it to travel back through time and kill Hitler, which means if you try and stop him, you are trying to save Hitler, which means Indiana Jones is on the side of Hitler, I guess. Anyway, so
he has a Hitler on. Don't forget, he has a Hitler autograph.
Nazi coalition, they capture Indy, they put a hood on him, they take him out of the building, put him in the van and take the hood off. So that was completely pointless. He gets out of the van because they get stuck. Then he gets chased by the CIA Nazi coalition. He finds a police horse. He rides the police horse through a metro station onto the underground rail, where he rides it directly in the course of an oncoming train, because horses famously can do that and they won't get scared. And just at the last second avoids being killed. It's like the whole thing is absolutely insane.
And then he says,
"Could you
hey,
tell?
mister, hold on to my horse."
And it's like the train's faster. It's like, oh, okay.
Such a good voice.
And did anybody notice the mechanical head in the close-ups of the horse? Like you could tell he's just sitting on.
Horse,
It wasn't a real horse whatsoever because the horse's head would just bob up and down. It had no other movement to it than just up and down. It was just.
It's the same thing that you saw in the movie Seabiscuit when the up-close shots. You see the mechanical horse going up.
It's just it's just a mechanical horse head bobbing up and down out of frame. It was just so awful what they did.
Oh, that doesn't hold a candle to the 80-year-old decrepit frame of Harrison Ford playing the de-aged version of himself at the beginning. So like they didn't do anything to. He sounded like an 80-year-old Harrison
they
Ford.
didn't de-age his
body
voice at
looked
all.
like a frail.
It was so freakish.
Skeleton.
Why didn't they just get an actor that sort of looks like Harrison Ford to de-age him, put the de-age face on like they usually do?
And you end up with Luke Skywalker.
Nah, just get the guy from Solo. That'd work out.
It was
great.
dark.
Did,
it was dark enough where if they would have done that, it wouldn't have mattered that much. It wouldn't have looked much. But like the reason why that scene was dark was because it was to help mask that.
Yeah,
honestly, the CG looked terrible in every aspect. Include there was points where I thought I was looking at like a PS3 background for like some of like the temple and stuff. I was like, like that. Yeah, I was like,
it was.
It just looked like it was everything just looked pre-rendered.
And it makes you wonder on the train because the train was CG and the backdrop was CG, but on top of the CG you had live action Nazis, but you had CG de-aged Indiana Jones, so you presumably had some kind of body double on whom they'd put the CG against the green screen CG backdrop with one real life person there, who incidentally emerges out of the mist about 50 yards away with a dagger in his hand, closes to melee range, drops the dagger, and then pulls his pistol out. Because again, this film is stupid in even the tiny little ways like that.
Yeah.
Can somebody tell me what the point? Oh, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say the whole prologue is just so worthless. I know, and I called this in my review, and I know people say like the first 20 minutes is the best part, but it's all shit we've all seen in all the Indiana Joneses before.
It's nothing original.
There's nothing new. It's just it happens in the dark this time. But you see him chase a train down in Last Crusade, fight on top of one in Last Crusade. He fights Nazis again, which is now he's Indiana Jones Nazi fighter. It's just like, come on, guys! Like, let's
one of the guys like crawling with the Nazis everywhere.
Yes,
I thought it was like playing like
that was the point of the prologue. The prologue was just basically saying, "Hey, remember all these things that you really liked about Indiana Jones? We're going to do all of them because what's coming next is going to depress you massively." Even though they contrive it in a stupid way as well. So he has to get onto the train. On the train he thinks he's going after the Lance of Longinus, which is the spear that allegedly stabbed Jesus back in the past. That turns out to be a fake. Also, his professor sidekick is being like interrogated on a train, but he doesn't really care too much about him. But so he escapes the Nazis who imprison him, escapes the hanging thing. The train is there, and instead of going to the train, which he needs to get on board, he makes a beeline for a car. He gets into the car with some Nazis in the back in disguise, because we've seen that before as well, in order to drive off in a different direction and then chase the train down in a car, because we have to have a motorbike chase with Nazis. And so, of course, that is what happens in that scene. It doesn't make any sense within the context of the film, but it only makes sense if the whole point of that sequence is for them to say, look, we're doing every single thing that's already been done before because you like this stuff. And that's it. We don't care about how we do it, but it's there, so please clap.
And it's so, like, the entire film is just by the numbers anyway. It's just like, hey, there's a thing, and then you have to go find a thing to find another part of the thing to get to the primary thing. It like that. Didn't we just do that 4 straight movies? It just seemed so fucking like there was no creativity whatsoever. I don't know how anyone watches this movie and just goes like, dude, it was fucking fine. Like, I don't know what the big deal is.
I
don't know, why did it have to be made?
I was half expecting them to take the Lance of Longinus like later in the movie and be like, well, if we follow the ripples in it, we can find where, we point it right at
pull the ruler out from underneath it.
Pull the ruler out. And then if there's a battleship from World War II, and we'll be able to figure this out. And the whole thing.
And that's the thing that all Indiana Jones fans have wanted, is him to go after the Spear of Destiny. And it's just, and they tease it, and then they go, it's fake, whatever. And it's just like, oh, what are you doing? You know what you're doing. So I guess the prologue is there to shit on the fans after all.
Yeah, well, that was like the equivalency of the like throwing the lightsaber scene. It was basically something from the comics that was a big deal, that was always said like, oh, wouldn't that be cool if that was in one of the movies? And then they just went, oh yeah, here it is. Psych. Like, that's basically what it was.
My favorite part of the prologue, I talked about this in my review and on Mr. Brown last night, was when Mads Mikkelsen's character takes a fucking pipe to the face that
going 100 miles an hour,
and nothing wrong with his face for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, when that happened, I thought, like, even though it's an Indiana Jones movie and things get a little wacky, I was like, oh, it's gonna have something to do with the dial for why he's back, because he is fucking dead.
Yeah,
and
that's
he was totally fine. It was just like nothing happened. Like like Drinker would say, like, nah, it'll be fine. Like it's
that was like Drinker if Drinker was played by Arnold. That was
I was gonna say it sounded like Arnold.
No, it'll be fine.
I'm Austrian and Scottish. Leave me alone.
Do you guys think maybe they shot the prelude before or after? Like they had the whole movie shot and they were like, "Fuck, this sucks." Just
I think that most
reshoots.
of this movie was reshot. There's like there's
a ton
no
of reshoots, yeah.
there was so much of it that was reshot over the course of time that and they definitely were just shuffling parts in and out because there was like random plot points, characters that seemed like they were going to be more important just got like shot in the face for no reason.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you what the fuck they reshot. I couldn't even tell you. Like for $300 million,
the ending for sure. The ending was the most tacked on, insane shit I've ever seen in a movie. Holy fuck!
Oh, hi, Vex.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hey guys, how's it going?
Our diversity quota is complete now.
Yeah, we're good now.
I'm also the leader of the Hot Seat Appreciation Committee. If you don't see my tagline there, so. Sorry, I'm late.
Did you get that the oil change?
I got an oil change, and then I got really fucking frustrated because I've already dumped $5,000 into my truck in the last month, and there's something else wrong with it now. So,
would be better off getting a new truck.
But yes, I got an oil change, and that's why I'm late.
Well, to brighten your day, why don't you tell us what you thought of Indy 5?
Why do you like it so much?
You know what?
Why are you defending this?
I really loved Indiana Jones 5 because finally in a movie we got to see a charismatic old man try to protect Hitler for 2.5 hours. And to me, that just it skyrockets it above every other entry in the Indiana Jones franchise.
It's because he signed his book.
Yeah,
he's not such a bad dude.
He has an autograph. I've said it like 3 times. He has to maintain the value there.
So,
it was completely for monetary reasons that he wanted.
Yeah. He's being selfish. It's okay.
So I think it's a phenomenal movie. I think anyone who shits on it clearly doesn't know the source material or what the vision for it was.
So true.
Yeah.
Did you read the comics though, Vex? Did you read the comics?
I think I read all the comics. I'm pretty sure I'm up to date. Spielberg is just so based, and his basedness is what managed to get this movie made, even though he had fuck all to do with it. So
God damn it, Vex! I wish I could just mute you.
He doesn't back down. He doesn't bend the knee.
All the plot holes will be explained by Martian Manhunter in future films.
It's all subjective.
There you go.
It's all subjective.
There you go. Right. But honestly, the best part of this movie was hot Nazi Mads Mikkelsen. That's about it.
You mean Terminator Nicholson who can't die?
Right. This movie was fucking shit. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is a country-faced hoe, and
she scared off Platoon. That's how bad that was right there. Like the host left.
I love how she's got like a simp in this movie, and I'm all like, this woman looks like a witch and a broom had a baby.
Yeah,
and
she's
not even kind of.
She looks like Mr. Burns with a wig on.
That's what I said.
I've actually over the course of time, I've always kind of maintained that she was just kind of like super average and just like androgynous. So like she was like a good template person to put into things for like if you want to just not have anything noticeable. Besides
she's a femme fatale. What are you talking about?
But like, this particular time, it just she seemed like really off-putting, and then they kept playing up like, oh yeah, she's hot, and I was like, which made it even more off-putting. I was like, it just kept going this. So just like, the more you say it,
what part?
I would agree that she's like average, but then you throw in the fact that she has a British accent, and then it like deducts like 4 points.
The exact opposite of that.
this time of year.
Listen, if she was French, probably add one. But
can we
gladly
just say
she's
Look,
British.
look,
but
dude,
she's
we
more.
lost our British representation. Please don't
don't
lose the
start
British
picking on
audience.
now.
I
Let's
live.
say 80-year-old
Oh, man.
Harrison Ford is still more handsome than Phoebe Waller-Bridge. is
Yeah,
hot.
well,
She's a
Yes.
handsome woman, that's for sure. That's for
she's
sure.
more mole than woman.
Yeah,
What?
she's got
What
the
I don't
receding
understand-
hairline and everything. It's
Yeah.
pretty gross.
Yes, she
These,
does. I know receding hairlines. Trust me.
These modern women all seem to have the same haircut, and for the life of me, I can't understand when you have a 6 head why you don't have bangs at all.
I started shaving my head when I had Phoebe Waller-Bridges' hairline. That's when I
Right,
started
like
shaving
I
my
just
head.
don't understand the look.
We're all
at
the better
all.
for it, Copa.
Well, now that Platoon is gone, I'm changing my background. Hold on.
All right, yes, yes,
Yes.
Specialty background.
yes.
Ah,
America,
Victory!
Freedom.
over.
It's weird. Like I
When he
feel
comes
like
back,
after,
he's gonna be so confused.
after doing Fleabag, I feel like people thought she was attractive when she was like a personified fleshlight in that show. Just like,
Yeah.
just like, yeah, you got used because you were there. That's about it. Like, she's not supposed to be attractive in that show, but it's like after writing her own script, she was like, oh, guys want to sleep with me in the scripts I write, so I must be attractive.
You know what? Like I
Shit,
can't
we'll
blame
get
her
that.
too much because like she didn't have a writing credit here, right? So she's kind of at the whim of whoever was behind the camera and in the writer's room. But like it they could have like she just
could have
put
read the
push a
script,
bra
you know?
on her
Any
or
of these
something, please.
Any of these actors could read the script that's handed to them, and that's one of the problems I have is you get the script before the movie is shot,
Mhm.
and you decided to jump on board anyways.
Can you though? Like realistically, in the world we live in now, can an actor get a Disney script and be like, "No,
No.
Disney, I'm not going to work with you," because it's all studio based now. Nothing's
Yeah,
You're not
No,
picking scripts based on.
They get handed a script that says Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny on it, and all of a sudden they wet themselves and go, "Yep, I'm on board, no
yeah.
matter
Well,
what."
there's two things to that, right? Like one, actors are kind of slaves to studios now, not really like
Yeah.
script
Wow.
picking. And two, if you're handed a script to a major blockbuster that's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars, you know for a fact whatever the fuck is in that script is not what's going to end up on the screen.
No, yeah, they're rewriting it the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Well, and
No.
your agent, your manager are going to be like, "You passed on how much fucking money?"
right.
It's like they're
Right.
taking a percentage. They're going to be like, "You passed on what?" Like, okay,
Right, yeah.
we're going to find other people for you to work with.
Yeah, that's right. I did. That's how hardcore I am about my craft.
That's how you end up like Shia LaBeouf and do indie movies.
But yeah, like you don't have to look any further than Mads Mikkelsen. I mean, he's literally been in all three major
Yep.
Franchises.
of that Disney has had now, and like is
Yeah.
consistently misused. And they've done that with multiple people. I mean, Toby Jones has been in it, has done it too.
I'm sorry,
Um,
Mads Mikkelsen in this one was a total bore too. If we're going down
Yeah.
to Mads Mikkelsen, right?
Mhm.
Dude,
He had moments.
Oh my
I mean,
God,
he does have his moments.
I liked
Yeah.
when he said, "Actually, it is my box." That was my favorite line of his. But that's the only line I remember him saying.
There's a classic example of how a script will ruin even a good actor, and I still think Mads Mikkelsen is probably overdoing the Hannibal stuff. Since he's done Hannibal, every villain he's played has basically been Hannibal. But I like Hannibal, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I was
The
gonna say
problem
that's
is that
good
if
though.
you introduce your main threatening villain, and in his first scene he gets one-shotted by the hero, in his second scene he dies because he gets twatted in the face by a giant flying cast metal pole, and then periodically throughout, Phoebe Waller-Bridge almost chokes him out in the back of a taxi, and then he looks ruffled and he almost gets blown up by dynamite. He just looks pathetic and incompetent and stupid, and nothing he plans actually comes to fruition because despite being we're told that he's really clever and a Nazi genius, but he's not. He's just an idiot. Absolutely everything that happens goes wrong. So the character is just terribly written, and I think even if Mads Mikkelsen were putting out an Oscar-worthy performance for this, he couldn't have elevated that.
But
Well,
listen,
he does have some magical binoculars, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
does have
those are
some pictures
amazing.
of where
Yeah,
they're
I
going.
mean, wow.
They see beyond the curvature.
They can
of
see
the
it.
earth.
They can see really far.
Yeah.
But
I like
it's-
that they. How
Okay.
far do they travel on one tank of gas? That's amazing.
So far,
Right?
I love how they
I
put
like
the line in, like, "How much gas do we have?" And then he's like, "Oh, right, perfect." Just floors it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
not
They had
enough. Not enough.
No.
And,
They had to acknowledge it. They're like, "Guys, don't
Everybody
worry, he has
knows.
gas."
Everybody knows Greece is right next to Sicily, about maybe half a mile away.
Yeah, it's
No,
close.
I mean, I've seen a map. It's only like 9 inches
Yeah,
away.
exactly.
Yeah, it's just
They'd
across
make
the
it
block.
there.
It's fine.
I gotta say,
It's
when
just down the
Mads
street.
Mikkelsen, when he starts beefing on that black guy and just being a little racist, my pants got a little tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Where are you
Yeah.
from?
It's like weird.
Whoa.
I don't know if I got like
it's
a
fine in the
fetish
beginning.
or not.
It's a good introduction because, so for context, for anyone in chat who sensibly hasn't seen the film, there's he's staying in a hotel and a guy, like a waiter guy, goes to give him his food. The waiter guy is black, and like obviously Mads Mikkelsen is supposed to be an undercover Nazi, and I stress the word undercover at this point. They're not supposed to know. So when he starts by asking the guy, "Where are you from?" and he says, "Well, I'm from the Bronx," and he says, "Where are your people from?" and he says, "Well, I was born there." And you think, okay, 1 or 2 questions, we're getting some of the subtle hints of villainy, but then he carries on and carries on and he carries on. And in the end, he says, "You didn't win the war. Hitler lost it." And I was thinking, you're not undercover anymore, are you? Like, everyone knows you are a Nazi.
Yeah,
It makes
I
you
thought
wonder,
he was gonna
though,
like kill him.
when
Like,
when
that
they
would've made sense.
like when they actually brought back Nazis from World War II, do you think they all just like stopped being Nazis? I'm sure some of them were like, yeah, we should have won. Like in their head, at least.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But you said, I'm sorry, can you rephrase that question one more time? When they brought back Nazis?
Yes, when they
use them in the
World War
space
II, a
program.
bunch of scientists.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I see what you're saying.
They got you to the moon, damn it. Come on.
The moon.
Speaking of the binocular scene, it's interesting that he can watch them go all the way to Sicily, but then suddenly continental drift is a convenient thing in the final
He's a rocket
act of
scientist.
the film.
Yeah.
No, it's just there is a curvature there, right? So it's like, how did he see over that? But at the same
Well, no.
time, somehow continental drift accounts for where
The Earth is
No,
flat.
continental drift is that the land mass is no longer in the same spot. It's not.
No,
you're thinking of
I
horizon.
know that, but
Okay.
it's just interesting
Hey.
that they don't have a continuity of the fact that
okay.
maybe landscapes have moved. That's
I don't think any
It
of-
only hit Professor Jones when he watched 2 boxes kind of shift next to each other.
Yeah,
He's like, continental drift, we're
All those
screwed."
boxes are going to the
That's what I look
right.
at all the time. There's a giant earthquake, and I'm looking at my 2 like cards on the floor.
I have
I'm
this
like,
bullet
oh,
in my
that's-
shoulder, bro. Let's
Oh
not
my
talk
god,
about
it's
that.
Pangea.
Even though I still wasn't entirely sure. In the first place, I don't know why continental drift would affect a portal that appears in the sky,
Yeah.
because the sky isn't tied to tectonic plates. In the second place, the impression is given later on that this was always part of Archimedes' plan, unless I misread that. So he planned for it, so the dial would lead people back from the future to the past to help him defeat the Romans as they attack Syracuse. In which case, continental drift didn't have anything to do with the fact that the portal led where it led, because that was always Archimedes' plan to begin with, but it was only convenient that Mads Mikkelsen, the Nazi scientist, forgot something that Archimedes didn't know, which made the plan work. I don't understand what's supposed to be going on there.
Right.
I think I took it as like they weren't so there wasn't only one place the portal went to, but they were always going to go there because like time is like they're not going back and affecting the past. It's already happened. There was
Yeah, I
already a
actually
watch on Archimedes'
appreciated how
body.
that movie handled time travel in that way. where
Ooh,
it's
I
like,
did
hey,
not.
I was like, well, no, because they did it in like the Harry Potter Goblet of Fire or whichever fucking book that was. where
Prisoner
they
of
went back in
Azkaban.
time.
It's the closed timeline.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
happens in the past always happens in the past. You always went back in the past.
Yeah.
Which it's not quite as spectacularly nonsensical as The Flash was, for example. But
Yeah.
it still creates a
more
great many questions. Because, for example, Indy, when he gets to, I can't believe I'm saying this, when Indy gets to the Battle of Syracuse against the Romans, and he decides he wants to stay there, if he understands this about time, then he knows that he won't stay there because he didn't stay there. So what's he even thinking of doing there? If he had decided, if Phoebe Waller-Bridge hadn't twatted him in the face and he had stayed there, what would have happened? It wouldn't have happened. But then if it's a closed timeline loop, then why didn't the presence of Nazi aeroplanes in like 240 BC dramatically change the course of history as we know it? And this is one of the big problems with this film, and to a lesser extent Crystal Skull, which is that the original trilogy placed themselves out of sight of mainline history and mainline observers, so they didn't alter history. Whereas this film, you begin with the chase, the shooting, gunfight, horse chase, train ride chase through a highly televised Moon Day parade, which notably we know didn't happen in history. And then it actually intervenes in the course of one of the most documented historical battles of that era. Again, we know that didn't happen because the Romans kept meticulous records. The only way we know anything about the Battle of Syracuse is because the Greeks and the Romans wrote about it. And we know they didn't write about Nazi airplanes flying over and crashing. So we know none of this happened. unlike
Phoenix
any of the
had
original ones.
propellers, Platoon. The Phoenix had propellers.
And he
I
had a
think
watch.
colors-
Don't forget he had a watch.
You did have a
too.
watch, yeah.
I
Well,
had this
and-
question as soon as they
sense.
started opening rounds onto the Romans. The Boyd Holbrook just started using that MG42 and just started laying waste to Romans as they're flying by. And I'm like,
crazy.
dude, you're altering history. Like, how are they not
Right.
going to find these bodies with bullets in it?
And why is he doing it anyway? Like, what
Yes.
does the
Yeah.
Romans have to do
What
with
was
this
the
plot
point?
He
plot
went
to
back to
kill
Tommy. He
Hitler?
was just like, all right, it's a
I think
video
I said
game
that
now.
on EFAB. So we are killing Romans to save Hitler. Like, how is this a plot in a film?
Also, like the reasoning they use for her to knock Indy out at the end of the movie just makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, it makes
when
no
you
sense.
when you watch like a plane crash, there's like the wreckage of the plane with dudes wearing Nazi outfits, like dead on the ground, and she's like, "We can't change history. You gotta
Yeah.
get right."
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, there's a plane. Yeah, no.
And
The
even
craziest
though-
thing to me was the fact that they had a black CIA agent in 1969. I didn't know
I
I don't
believe
think that
that.
was
Okay.
that crazy.
I was
Hold on.
legitimately
Disco
shocked
chick.
that they
You would-
killed her.
Quirky.
I
You
love the fact
have-
that she called him a trigger happy cracker. And he was like, you're right. Instead of
was
slapping her
crazy.
like he would have in 1969.
Well, she said the actress said that she liked it because the CIA used like spies like from the Black Panther Party in the 60s, and I was like, well, that's fine, but like you're not doing that though. Like that's
Right.
not what her character's doing.
Well, yeah,
So-
don't you know, to infiltrate the Nazis, the best person to use is a black woman.
Right.
In a disco outfit.
and he didn't even ask her where her people were from either. That was highly
That's
disrespectful.
true.
She would have been
Yeah.
like, she would have been like Munich. That's where they're from.
Because he
100%
kills
from
her
Munich.
later on. Why
Yeah.
she's helping him, I don't know. Because
Yeah.
the CIA don't have any need. They don't seem to have much knowledge of the time travel dial anyway. They
Yeah.
don't have any need for it. They don't have any need for him. She actually uses the line later in the film when she tells him that he's already given them what they want. He got them to the moon, so they have no further use for him. That's when he kills her. And that's when you might have expected his evil racist Nazi side to come out again. But instead, he just tells her what his real name is, as though that makes any difference to her character.
Right.
I have a theory on this, okay? And this came to me in a dream last night.
Damn, you were dreaming about this movie?
Wow.
I was.
That's how much she loved it. She loved it that much that she's
So,
playing it back in her
maybe-
head.
Maybe the entire moon landing was faked, and she was tasked with protecting him to make sure that he never reveals the truth, because clearly this dude
That's
has
some
no
headcanon.
problem.
Wow.
This dude has no problem telling everyone he's a Nazi, though. So it's like, how's he going to keep quiet about a fake moon landing?
Well, but the problem is
That's
that he says that he succeeded because he does that interview. Oh god, that line. He does an interview after the moon landing gets back, and they say, "Well, what's next? Mars?" And he says, "No, we've conquered space." I was like, "No, you haven't."
What? Hold on. What?
We beat space. We beat the game, guys.
Yeah.
We've been to the moon, so space is done. Achievement unlocked. Now we're going to do time travel. Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, can we go back to the black lady? I love how she's helping, and the whole time she's just like letting them kill people. Like, we need no witnesses. I was like, the CIA doesn't work like that, or at least I don't think they do. I was like, they're just killing random professors at a college.
Matt,
and then
you got to read some books.
I mean,
you
I
got to
don't
read
know,
some books. My
I
the
don't
CIA does some-
The CIA is completely innocent. They've done nothing wrong. Just to clear that up, CIA, if you're watching, you guys didn't do anything. You didn't kill
And I
any
did-
presidents.
Right. And I did back
MLK
to
was
the.
that. I don't know.
The best part would be if if your internet just cut out right now.
That would be.
Come back.
But that was the thing too. Is I was waiting for that mess to just get exponentially worse. Like the first person they killed dropped
Yeah.
dead, and then someone else witnessed them killing that person, and I was hoping it was going to start getting worse and worse, where they were just going to have to wipe out that entire building. But it never got that far. Like
Yeah.
when the
like
elevator
overall.
door opened, I was like, "Oh, they're just all going to die right now." But no, they just left it at that. Like, hey, we can kill one or two people, but if there is like a lot of witnesses, though,
I think there's like a better movie in there where it's just somebody following them like at like a few hours after and coming up with cover stories for everybody who died for no apparent reason.
and then the
feel
Men in
like-
Black come and flashy thing them, and they're just like, "You didn't see anything here."
the Men in Black prequel the whole time.
Can I ask just what happened with the whole plot line of him being like, "Oh, I'm being framed for murder." Well, all the Nazis are now like dead in the past. So
Nothing,
Re-
nothing
reshoots.
happened.
Reshoots
Yeah.
happened.
For some reason he was saying, if I get the dial back, I can prove my innocence. But I was like,
Well-
how does that work out?
He can go back in time and undo the killings.
And that's my problem
Kill them.
is like, just go back and save your son, bro. Like, who gives a shit about anything else? Like,
That's
what are you
clearly
doing?
how you know that this was all reshot, though, because there's so many plot holes that you can see that they were trying to fill in with the dial, and then they got to the end and they were like, "Oh no, this movie's going to implode if we like let them go back in time and redo Indiana Jones movies because everyone's going to freak the fuck out and it's going to destroy every previous movie." So like, let's just have him have his wife back. I guess.
Nowhere.
Oh my god! And then they did that tiresome romantic scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, but they flipped it over to where she had a boo boo on her elbow, and it was like, oh my god!
I hated that in the original.
It was just very out of place for everything, but I didn't dislike that particular scene as it was constituted. You know, as a callback, I thought it was fine.
There's a couple of things like that in complete isolation. You can say, yeah, that's okay. So when we first learned about the death of his son, for example, when they're on that boat, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character says what he would do, asked him what he would do if he could go back in time, and he says, I'd stop my son from enlisting, and I'd tell him that, you know, if he did, he'd die, and his wife would get miserable, and then I would want to kill myself. I was like, that's a well-performed scene. It's just, it doesn't accord with anything about the character history at all. Like, Mutt wouldn't enlist to piss Indiana Jones off because Mutt's the anti-establishment rebel. Indy's the guy who voluntarily signed up to serve his country against communists in the last film. So he's the person who should have wanted that. And the most natural film to do is to have like Mutt still alive as like a draft dodger or something. Indy disappears because he's tired of modernity, but he still loves history. And much like The Last Crusade, Mutt has to go and find him, and you can have the CIA help him if you want to. Like all of these other things you could potentially have done, but didn't. And then, but that's the problem with this film, is because it invites so many easily envisionable alternate potential stories. And alternate plans the character should have done. So Mads Mikkelsen's character, he wants the dial so he can go back very specifically to 1939 and kill Hitler in order to win the Second World War. And I'm thinking, well, why wouldn't you want to go back, for example, to Raiders of the Lost Ark and get the Ark, because then your army's invincible and you can win the war anyway? What do you imagine happens if you go and kill Hitler? That they're just going to turn around and say, yeah, you're our new Fuhrer now, well done. That's not what happens. Hitler had several assassination attempts, and everyone who tried it died. What the hell was he thinking?
He's a rocket scientist, not a politician.
Okay, comment. This entire time it was made out that his sidekick in the beginning of the film was like a genius when it came to all this time travel stuff, right? And he had always I think it was 2 or 3 times we see the two dates come up, the August 69 and the August 39. Why did he think it was going to be August 20th, 1939?
He did math.
Yeah, something math, something fabric.
Was there a genuine, because that's a very specific date, that's why. So I'm just
Continental
wondering,
drift.
It's never explained why that specific date is the one that stands out to him, because they even called him a genius in multiple instances. So
I have a feeling that was another scene that got cut out, because they probably had a lot of like, oh well, now we need to figure out, you know, the mathematics of it, because the whole thing was that that it uses mathematics to calculate it, and they did very little math with it. It was mostly just turn a couple dials and clicky click click, it's good. So I have a feeling there was a lot of sequences where, or at least a decently length sequence of them trying to figure that out. They just scrapped it.
I agree.
Yeah, they go through a lot of painstakingly detail to do certain plot lines that they just abandon.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I just real quick talk about Antonio Banderas real quick?
Oh yeah, I forgot he was in the movie.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I love Antonio Banderas. So when he showed up, I was like, yay, Antonio Banderas. And I loved him for the hot second he was in it. But I was like, yeah, he's dead. And I was like, you wasted Antonio Banderas. But they wasted everybody in this movie. That's good. But I'm just like, I was like, why? And then also, are eels the snakes of the sea? Because I never thought of eels as the snakes of the sea.
Yeah,
but I was like, what? What?
Sometimes they're called
sea snakes.
I literally was in the theater just like, are eels the snakes of the sea? I'm so confused right now, and I'm like, I don't understand.
They had to say snakes somewhere in
the script. Indy's scared of snakes. They have
the worst part is there was actually like a scene where they could have had fun with the snakes thing when they were in the temple and there was all the bugs and she was freaking out.
Yeah,
he was freaking out too.
I was gonna say that he could have just been like, no, whatever. These are, and then they could have walked into another room and flipped it, and that would have been a great scene of her being okay okay with snakes and him being like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
That would have been fantastic, like back and forth for them. That would have built character for both of them, and they didn't do it that way.
He immediately established his character not being scared of bugs in Raiders of the Lost Ark when he brushes off like he brushes off the spiders like they're nothing to him. But in this scene, he's just completely freaked out by all these bugs. It was insane. And to go back to Antonio Banderas's death in this movie, did anybody else notice that he goes, "My friend was killed," and she just kind of shrugged it off, like,
yeah, she was like, "Dang, that's crazy," and then it was like, "Anyway,"
she's like, "Oh, that's rough, buddy."
Yeah, she's a monster. I do not like her. I didn't like her from her first scene when she's doing the thing with the cards. I was like, what an asshole. She's like those people. She's like those people that chew their gum all weird where they like dislocate their jaw.
Cards.
And she's all like, huh? And then she's answering every question. It's like, oh, get the hell out of here with your big bag of bullshit.
I always hate those kind of explanations for like card tricks too. It's like, oh, I've marked it so you feel it slightly different. It's like, yeah, but what if they never even got to that point in the deck?
Right.
Like there's so many times like you're like, oh, I trimmed the edge of a card. It's like, yes, but if they cut the deck and that's not where it was, those are the dumbest kind of tricks to be explained.
I took away your right to freedom of choice.
Can I soak up some hate from everyone involved right now? I think that she is a good actress. I her character is fucking terrible, but like she's not bad. She's not like the girl in Temple. She's not like a horrific actress.
Tell me
where mute this guy.
Yeah, tell me where Phoebe Waller-Bridge is charismatic.
Roller.
What?
I'm not saying charismatic. I'm saying like
that's part of being a good actress.
She plays the role that she was written. Is what you're trying to say.
Unfortunately, the role is always
she's not knocking it out of the park. She's not like an insanely good actress, but she's not so bad that I'm like, fuck, that was bad. Like her character, I'm like, fuck, you are
but she
so
always
annoying.
plays the same character, so she has plenty of experience playing this character because it's the only character she writes for herself.
Right.
And so I think Morda said that she's so aware always that the camera is on her in every single scene. Like she's always playing up to the camera, which it slightly works in an off-the-cuff, semi-fourth wall-breaking comedy like Fleabag. It doesn't work in a supposedly gripping and immersive fictional work like Indiana Jones. It just doesn't work that way. So she's good at playing that part. That part doesn't belong in this film, and I don't think that part belongs in anything that isn't called Fleabag, personally.
That's fair. She's not Mindy Kaling bad, okay? Mindy Kaling is a terrible actress.
The problem I had with her character, and it's something that I like, it's just like looking back at all the other females that we get throughout Indiana Jones, is they kind of fit their time period that they're in. Like, yeah, Marion was a little bit more badass than you would, or not badass, but outspoken than you would expect a woman of that time to be.
Badass moments.
But like, it didn't destroy the character, right?
Right.
But with Helena, it's just, I would not picture a woman from literally the brink of the 1970s to be acting the way she was. Like I genuinely felt like I was watching a woman from 2023 on the screen.
Yeah.
And it really destroyed the immersion.
You missed the bit where she used the Dial of Destiny to travel back in time from 2023. And that's the reason.
That was probably in the cutting room floor, maybe. But it was like even just down to her outfits and like her mannerisms. Like speaking of like the chewing gum thing that you said earlier, Matt, like every instance where she's on camera eating food is.
Yeah, she's an asshole. Total monster.
She's a giraffe.
I really just couldn't believe that it was a period setting, right, for this entire movie, because she took you out of the experience time and time again. Even the the scene where we find out that she was engaged to a Middle Eastern mobster kind of thing.
I love that dropped.
Right.
That was cool.
Yeah, the entire chase became like fast and furious.
Presumably this guy has a lot of money.
And every time they showed him, it was Helena. Like, he kept screaming her name and shooting at her.
Right?
It made no sense. He's trying to kill her and win her back at the same time.
He wanted to skull fuck her. I'm telling you, that's it. He wanted her head to skull fuck. That's it.
I'm genuinely curious if how many characters, and it's always a female character. How many times have we seen one like this, where it's like they're way too cool for school, they're way fucking better than you, and someone wrote that and thinks, yeah, the audience is gonna love this shit.
Sure.
Not true.
How
They
is
loved
that
it all the
possible?
other times
and they were
we've
like,
seen it.
I won't be canceled for writing this. Like,
Hold on.
I'll make my
Okay.
money anyway. It's not like they make extra money off the box office. So they're like, I just don't want to be blasted on Twitter for the next 7 months straight. So
So
I'm
who
just gonna
gets
write a girl
blamed for the
boss.
failings of this movie in the end? Then is it the
KK for
director?
sure.
Is it
Pretty publicly,
Honestly,
KK.
I feel like it's a shared blame around the whole table. I think from the production of it, like obviously it's way too much large of a budget. So right there, that's going to be a huge problem. The writing was terrible. Clearly, the whoever was in charge of the editing sucked at it.
Oh, yeah.
The directing wasn't done well. Nobody acted particularly well except for portions of Mads Mikkelsen. Like, I think it's a shared blame across the board.
It would be much clearer who the blame was officially being put on if the studio had the courage to officially put the blame on someone.
Right.
So at the moment, there's this weird conspiracy of silence whenever these flops happen. If they're not blaming the fans, they're not really blaming anyone. It's just this unfortunate and unforeseeable tragedy that this incredibly lucrative franchise has suddenly produced a bomb. Nobody really knows why. Maybe it's racism on the fans, but if it's not that, we're stumped. Or it's COVID. COVID is, it's a very commonly an excuse. But in reality, it is a mix of the blame. I think Kathleen Kennedy has to take the blame for having a uniquely incompetent way of running a studio.
Yeah.
Because it's not just Lucasfilm that's producing huge flops at the moment, but it does do it in a very distinctively Kennedy-esque way. Like, so The Flash, for example, is a terrible, terrible film. It did the reshoots thing, but it didn't have the same kind of kaleidoscopic conveyor belt of directors in and out, in and out, in and out. It wasn't as incompetently produced. It was just quite incompetently produced. And every single thing that Kathleen Kennedy has helmed has had minimum 4 directors attached to it at some point. Most of them have never even seen the light of day. And so that particular incompetent management has to go down to her, but it doesn't explain the incompetence of every other studio around them. So you could replace her with someone, and the odds are you would get a more boilerplate type of incompetent bomb, which is not really what we want. She takes a significant pile of the blame, I think, but not too much of it. That does belong elsewhere as well.
I feel like she's the one who puts it all together, right? Like, she's the one who's picking this team and putting them all together. Like, it kind of feels like the role of a good producer to know, not like have to, pick through every script and make sure you're getting like the best story, but you have to know what the cohesion's going to be. You have to know like the vision of the movie, what it's going to look like, who needs to execute that the best, and like what team is going to do that in the cheapest fashion. Because I've heard like $330 million now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with
There's
the role of the
countries,
producer,
yeah.
yes, she's supposed to pick like all the department heads and stuff like that, or at least pick the director, and the director picks their department heads, right? And but it seems like everybody from top down phoned it in, and I went over this in my review in painstaking detail with all the department heads, not just Kathleen Kennedy, where the cinematography is there just to light things, to cover up CGI, and that's just about it. They don't play with the lighting.
They did a bad job a lot of times.
Oh, I know. It's just, but like when you have that much CGI, there's only so much you can do to cover it up. I mean, especially with the prologue. The train scene just drove me nuts. Just how much CG is actually being used in that sequence is just unbelievable. But that being said, like the cinematographer, like in the cave scenes, that should be a cinematographer's wet dream, to play with lighting and shadows and stuff like that. When a cinematographer gets a chance to play with shadows, they're all over it. But in this, it's just like, well, we can light it just so we can see what we're doing, and that's just about it. And then it goes all the way, and it goes all the way down to John Williams. I don't know if a lot of people picked up on this, but he recycled themes from all the Indiana Jones films and plopped them into this one. And the part where, and this is the part that really bugged the shit out of me, was at one moment when Indy's describing to Helena that his son died in Vietnam, they play the romantic theme of him and Miriam from Raiders of the Lost Ark over this, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, are you serious?
Bad timing.
Yeah, it felt bizarre.
It was so strange.
It's because it suggests that the thing that was in their mind at the time was not really the son's death. It was the fact that he lost Marion, and so that's the goal at the end, is to get her back.
Yeah,
his son is just incidental to that. It's the excuse to break their relationship up, and so the excuse to put it back together. But the rest of the soundtrack is similarly, like you say, it's samey, it's lightweight. When you can hear it, because the sound mixing is uniformly terrible throughout. So whenever there's a chase sequence, you cannot hear a single part of the soundtrack. So you don't really know if it's new or not. But the rest of it does sound like even John Williams phoned it in a bit. And that's depressing because I like John Williams.
Even in the chase sequence, he reuses the chase sequence themes from Last Crusade. And from Temple of Doom, the minecart chase scene is in there during the chase sequence. I'm not sure if this entire soundtrack from John Williams isn't just recycled and reused and maybe old material that never made it into the previous Indiana Jones. Every department from top down phones this movie in, and it's just so sad to see.
Yep.
All right, stream over. All right, I did it again.
I mean, sometimes you just say somebody just says a thing that just everybody agrees with, and nobody has a rebuttal. So,
His theme wasn't even in this movie. How many times did you actually hear his theme in the whole movie?
When he got on the train.
Yeah, when he got on the train.
Like,
once or
everything's not working together. It's like it's dark. You can't see anything. Like the turret is like exploding and apparently shooting the other Nazis. I didn't know how that was working.
And it was because the train was turning, so as it turned, it was shooting it basically.
They have an anti-aircraft gun going off into this train. Doesn't derail it. A and B. They're not going deaf as they're running by it. Like they're not holding their head, they're not holding their ears together. They're just running by it like, oh well, yeah, that's an anti-aircraft machine gun going off right by
it. Probably my favorite thing about like the CG where you can tell that it's not showing emotion is when he got shot. And he just like
looks up just like annoyed,
just like that sucked. Like it was just like,
shoot me.
When in the same movie later on he gets shot. And it's way different. Like,
don't you love when he gets shot at the end? He oscillates between almost on death's door to full capacity health capacity with 200% shields. It just all depends on what the writers need from him at the time.
He's regenerating, right?
Yeah, he's regenerating. I'm respawning.
Respawn.
The only reason why I can accept that she knocked him out is that he had like no blood left in his body. Because she weighs like I don't know how tall she is, but she's like a rail. She'd have nearly enough weight. Even an 80-year-old man could tank a punch from someone like her.
He's got old man strength. Of course he would.
Yo, did you see that shirtless scene? He's like fucking pretty fit for an 80-year-old.
For 80 years old, I'm like, dude, you're kind of jacked for 80.
That's actually a thing about Harrison Ford, though. They even said that back when Crystal Skull came out, that they didn't have to do much to his old costumes in terms of like refitting them, because he mostly stays in shape. He actually does take that seriously. So for an 80-year-old, he's in really phenomenal shape.
I want to see an 80-year-old on TRT. Fucking jack.
Well, no, don't worry. We have a Wolverine coming up. That'll be fine.
It's pretty close, I guess.
Oh, that's right.
he is. No, you're right. He is in phenomenal shape. Unfortunately, that you can be in the best shape of your life as an 80-year-old, and you're still going to be able to tell you're an 80-year-old. And that was one of the earlier and more depressing parts of the film. It wasn't even just the bit where they have him as a shirtless bum in his tiny little apartment that for some reason he now lives in, working at a shit university that for some reason he now works at.
Yeah.
It was whenever he tried to move anywhere. And like I remember the old films, and like the tension, the threat was, is he going to get shot by the Nazis? Oh, he's hanging off the side of a tank. In real life, is he going to die? That's a really perilous situation. In this one, he waddles up some stairs, and you're thinking, oh God, is he going to get to the top? Is he going to fall over? He's not going to stand up again if he gets a slight push of like wind. And then there's the bit where he's cornered in the archives by the CIA Nazi coalition. And he's sort of panicking and looking around, and he looks really confused. And the CIA woman approaches him and says, "We're not going to hurt you." I just think, you're talking to him like he's got dementia. This is just depressing. And then he just waddles away onto a briefcase and onto a fucking bookcase even, and kills some random CIA dude on crutches who's in the film for some reason. And then he waddles off again, and it's so physically lame that it's just, ooh, that was miserable.
Can I just point out in that opening sequence too, like every time we've seen Indiana Jones teaching in a university in prior entries, he's really enthusiastic about it. Right. He has passion about it. And then all of a sudden so you would think that it would actually be his dream to get tenure teaching this kind of stuff, but he's absolutely miserable. And on top of that, in the entire archive sequence, he has literally, despite the closing scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark being him putting an artifact in like a secret warehouse and everything, he just says fuck it and knocks everything over.
Yeah, that was very strange.
Like it's not important to him anymore.
They just kept, it was literally priceless artifacts and
nope.
It was
archives and
odd.
records.
And did you love when he gave his clock to that homeless man? Like, what is he gonna do with that clock that you just gave him? That shitty clock. I was like,
well, now he knows how long of the day his day sucks. So.
That was the other thing. Doesn't he have the dial of destiny? And the thing he tells, because when he takes the dial from Baz, who insists that he destroy it, even though Baz has the dial already and could have destroyed it but didn't. And then he says it belongs in a museum, and then he just puts it in a drawer apparently and forgets about it for the next decade.
The dial is like the ring, the one ring is what I gathered. It's like anyone who has it just goes fucking mad and wants to, do everything about it. So.
That's actually.
I think we need to get Daniel on this so he can explain, because I did not gather this at all.
Short Round learns more than she did in this movie.
I don't get that at all.
I don't.
What did she learn?
Wait, I have to reread this one more time.
No, she didn't.
Her arc is incomplete.
It's her movie through and through. She drives the plot the entire time.
This is Helena Shaw and the Dial of Destiny.
She doesn't learn anything.
She literally educates him multiple times.
She doesn't learn anything in terms on the intellectual level. She learns nothing from him because she already knows everything. The most easy example with that is which code is the dial going to be written in? Is it pluribus or is it the one I can't remember the name of? And she can translate the one it happens to be written. Like she doesn't know, she doesn't need him for that. He has to justify his own existence at one stage by saying, well, it could be written in the other one, so you need me. And that's the only time in the film that he's ever even almost useful. The moral arc that the film tries to have her go on is it tries to have her begin as cutthroat, ruthless thief who values nothing except money, who over the course of the film comes to value something more than money and see value in Indy himself. Now, even if you accept that is what happened, and I don't think that is what the film really achieved, that's still not him teaching her things. That's her coming to a self-realization. So that's not her learning from him. But even then, the film doesn't do that because it clearly shows throughout that she already has higher values than money. It's just it forgets to do that half of the time because it's inconsistent. So unless you can name me a single thing she actually qualitatively learned from him, I think you're falling for the intent as opposed to the delivery of the film.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's always about execution, not what you're. It's the fucking Zack Snyder excuse. It's like, good ideas do not equate good exexecution. Like if that's what they were intending, it's fucking terrible.
Also, she doesn't evolve at all throughout the movie. She at the end is the same person. She hasn't changed.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So. She had one morally good moment, and that was at the end when she, time travel punched Indy back into 1969.
If anything, that's the moment that she got out of it and that was her telling him hey, don't be a moron. Essentially,
I don't actually know if that's necessarily a morally good moment, even because what she's doing there is essentially denying Indiana Jones the opportunity to learn an important lesson for himself. So he goes back in time. He knows he can't stay there. He knows he'll ruin history. He knows all of this, and he also knows that he shouldn't want to kill himself. And yet he wants all of those things, and she doesn't even give him the opportunity to make some kind of realization that brings him back to life and to see some value in the future again. No, she just twats him in the face and drags him back. It's like, at the very least, it's non-consensual.
I was going to point out, she's not really secondary to Indy either, because she actually ends up solving all of Indy's problems for him without actually really learning what the issue is in the first place. Right. So she punches him out at the end, right? Because she assumes that he has something to live for. She just solves the problems in his marriage out of nowhere too, which just conveniently works. And then on top of that, she also she seems to just know, despite him having 50, 60 years in the field, she just seems to know everything despite having an absent father through all of her childhood as well. So she's not even this literally is her movie. She's not secondary to Indiana Jones at all. There isn't even a mantle that's passed. It's just the Helena Shaw show. Yeah. And you see that even the most obvious moment you see that in is when they're on the boat when Antonio Banderas gets shot. And she's doing this whole oh my God, I'm so quirky and so smart thing while trying to hide the dynamite, right?
No, you
can
got the
tell.
British accent.
oh, I'm so quirky and so smart. Oh my god, right?
Oh, I'm so pretty.
Right. It's just you can see that this movie was just meant to be her and nothing else. And this is also where the cut footage comes in, because clearly there is an intent that she was meant to take the mantle at the very end of the film. And they were just like, nah, people are gonna hate that just as much as the rest of the movies, so we might as well just leave it on a weird kink thing for Indy instead.
Yeah, apparently the first cut was her taking up the mantle for sure, like her donning the hat and everything.
Wasn't there a Disney Plus show planned?
Yeah, and there's a Disney, a Helena Shaw show.
Going to continue after.
Yeah, KK said quite recently, it's not impossible that she could continue the Indiana Jones franchise. It's not impossible. It's just highly improbable. But you could tell that's what they wanted to do. That final scene, she was one step short of saying, "My name is Helena Jones."
Jesus fuck.
And okay, I just want to bring up one more character that was wasted. I know we're talking about Helena, but when he meets up with Salah and they're talking, and Salah is talking about how he's like, "Oh, I remember the good old times and everything." I don't remember exactly what he said because I only seen it once.
He was talking about how he missed the desert.
Yeah, I'm all like, and he's got his passport or whatever. He's ready to go, and I'm all like, why didn't you just take him on your little trip? Because that would have been way funnier to see two old guys trying to do this like
as well,
adventure.
So he takes Indy because for some reason Salah's just a cab driver in New York now.
Yeah, right.
Fuck it, why not? He takes Indy to the airport. Bear in mind, Indy's a wanted criminal at this moment because he's been framed for the death of 3 people. And the first thing Salah does is to shout, "Go get him, Indiana Jones!" Like, he also says, I miss adventure. And Indy says, "This isn't an adventure." And you think, well, you're going to Morocco to fight Nazis. So yes, it is.
Yes,
Salah
it
says he
is.
bought his passport with him because he really wants to go. And so you're thinking, well, okay, go.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't.
Also, has Salah just retired into like just basically like an underground mobster or anything? Because he knew not only that this whole like sell-off was happening in Morocco, but he knew the exact day, he knew the exact hotel. He even knew what fucking part of the hotel it was in.
Well, no, it's because he's Middle Eastern, and everybody knows that the Middle East is just one small place that everything happens. It's one hotel that everything happens in.
I feel like I almost would have preferred, like, I don't remember who said it, but someone was talking about how you could have taken that black CAI agent, and like, there's a story there where she's like, these guys are Nazis and doing bad things, and she teams up with Indiana Jones, and they go off and do a thing, and you still have Indy as the lead. He's got like a little side character. I mean, it'd be better than him being dragged along by Phoebe Waller-Bridge and having to be saved in the third act like a little bitch.
What I would not
was
have
he
given,
saved though? Like he doesn't seem like he was saved at all.
Right.
What I would not, what I would
his
not
will.
have given for her to have like the equivalency of the what was it? What was the like gun toting cracker line or whatever?
Yeah.
It was like,
Trigger happy cracker.
It was like that. Like if she would have just had like that, but like over and over and over again, just different versions of that. Like, and another thing that I hate about people. Like,
We would have just gotten the Indiana Jones version of the Nice Guys then, which actually sounds far more interesting.
I was legitimately shocked they killed her off though, like, and she didn't just kind of disappear. Like, oh, I'm no longer needed. Like, I was legitimately
that had to be a change in the script because if it seriously felt like they were setting her up for something, and then they just like, JK,
conveniently,
like
that
out of nowhere.
That entire CIA arc just doesn't. There's no point in it being in the film. It doesn't impact anything that you can't
The entire
easily
murder
change.
arc.
They get killed. She gets killed. That's the end of the CIA, and you think, well, okay, how's that changed the script at all? What impact has that had? And the answer is kind of nothing.
You would think the CIA was going to come in at the end and save Indy somehow, just like the British troops saved him in Temple of Doom on the bridge, but that doesn't even play out. And like I said, like this brings up multiple plot lines that just die. It's just the craziest thing to me. And it's like, how do you even have writers attached to this movie and not see all the problems that is going on right now?
These are good writers too, is the worst part. Like they've written good scripts in the past.
Yeah, they wrote Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
This writing team has.
I've said this before.
And Logan.
I've said this before. I really feel like, at least if it was me, if I was writing a movie and I finished a whole tight script and it has like time travel involved and multiple characters and you're moving like a legacy character forward a couple decades, and then someone comes in and they're like, oh yeah, that last third of the movie, we can't do that. Be like, fuck you. Like, okay, I'm gonna just smash out whatever comes into my head then, and you just end up with like endless plot holes, and they're probably like, I don't care. Because Disney doesn't. It's not like anybody's jumping down their throat being like, this doesn't make any sense. Could you rewrite this? They're just like, oh, cool, you gave us 300 pages. Let's do it.
It's so like, even bringing Nazis back, I get why they did it. So one of the things that they were thinking of when they were doing Crystal Skull was, well, if we are setting it in the 60s or the late 50s, we can't ignore the Cold War, because that is the defining conflict of that era and for the next 30 years. So we can't really do the Nazis again. It'll have to be the commies. It'll have to be the Russians, the Soviets. It was tricky, I think, because George Lucas has some interesting ideas about all of this. And so it wasn't as easy to portray the Soviets in as villainous a light as the Nazis. It was the 60s generally is a more morally complex time. And one of the appeals of old Indiana Jones is that there is no more simple morality play than good guys versus Nazis. And I think that's one of the things that Crystal Skull kind of lacked. Whereas this one seemed to sort of understand that, because they brought the Nazis back. Its only obeisance to the 60s really was, well, we mentioned the moon landing, and also the CIA is involved somehow, and that makes it slightly more morally gray, I suppose. But that then defeats the object of bringing Nazis back. If you're doing a morally gray sort of conspiratorial psyop Indiana Jones thing, then you want the Soviets. If you're not doing that, then you want the Nazis, but then you shouldn't set it in the 60s. So I think they just muddled even what they were going for with the villains there.
If you look at the track record of the movies, though, every time they didn't do Nazis, it didn't go very well.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Temple of Doom flopped. They didn't do Nazis. They went back to Nazis for the Last Crusade. Yeah, and then
I don't think
Crystal
Temple of
Skull
Doom flopped,
yeah.
but it definitely wasn't as successful as Raiders
It definitely
of the Lost Ark.
sucked.
I thought it was a big
Stop that right now.
step down.
Temple of Doom is
Like
awesome.
financially.
Yeah,
We ain't stopped it.
I think Temple's good. I like it a lot, but I thought
It is good.
No, it's not.
It is so good. When he rips the heart out, he's like, and everything's so. And the guy's like freaking out when he's going into that fire, and that fire comes up so, and he's all like, and that cage's so good. I don't.
It's like drunk history when you describe a movie.
Well, I don't remember what he was saying exactly, but with his whole heart pumping.
I don't think
in
you
his
spoke
hands,
the
so
language
good.
he was speaking.
So
It's not like you
good.
don't remember what he
pretty
said.
close.
You didn't understand it to begin with.
I just
the
kind
whole
of remember
reason-
all of the old Indian people in Temple of Doom going, M. Night Shyamalan, M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, and I definitely would not call Temple of Doom a flop. It's still against $28 million. It made almost 300. It made 330 million.
What did Raiders make though?
380 against 20. So it wasn't as successful, but it was definitely not a flop.
Not a flop, but they probably notice when they don't make as much money on a sequel.
Surprisingly enough, Last Crusade got 475 million. That was
Brought the Nazis back. That's what I'm saying.
I think Sean Connery was the selling point, in all
yeah.
honesty. Yeah.
And you know what? For the shits and giggles, let's look at Crystal Skull.
Actually, that made
Skull was
like
a hit.
700 million. Yeah.
It did
It was
well.
a big
yeah.
hit.
But yeah, I mean, I'd have to do a lot. Like I'd have to do math for the
what was the
budget.
budget?
But the reason why
the
Temple of Doom didn't have Nazis was due to the fact that Lucas
the budget
and
was
Spielberg
also 185 for Crystal Skull.
Lucas and Spielberg definitely didn't want to do Nazis again after Raiders, so that's why they set it in India the way that they did, because they were really trying to reference Gunga Din with that one, but it fell flat on its face in a lot of parts. That second act in Temple of Doom is quite a bore until it gets going there. Once he rips his heart out and goes M. Night Shyamalan. But I agree with Platoon. There is a simpler way of doing something that's more set of that time. I agree more with doing some kind of Soviet spy stuff that are after him more than bringing the Nazis back, because it really does turn into Indiana Jones Nazi Hunter, and I don't think that's what Indiana Jones is really
I want
about.
I want like them to do like a truly modern Indiana Jones with just Nazis in 2023. I think that would be the way to go. But like not like modern perception of Nazis, like actual time traveling Nazis.
Oh, I thought you
I honestly, I would have been more interested if like the CIA was after him. If he gets the dial and he's like trying to go back and save his son, and the CIA is like time travel, because that seems like something that would probably happen in the 60s.
And the CIA, yeah.
Or they say the Soviets are after something. The CIA knows the Soviets are after something, and the only person they know who could potentially find it before the Soviets is Indiana Jones. But he's off on a dig somewhere, like, or he's disappeared because He doesn't really like modernity very much, but he still really, really loves the past, and he's gone digging, and he hasn't told anyone. And so the film is, in large part, about trying to find him in order that he can help them stop the Soviets getting whatever it happens to be. And that could have been half decent again, because it would have given an opportunity for. I still think the ideal is you bring Mutt back, recast him if you have to, but you bring him back and he can be the lead, the action lead in this film, to Indy, who's playing his father's role in Last Crusade. That would have been okay by me, I think. And then also, what you really need to do is to find some MacGuffin that actually ties into a cultural mainstay that people immediately understand. Everybody immediately understands the Grail myth, because there are thousands of Grail myths. They are culturally pivotal. Every story we have really owes some small part of itself. Any quest story, anyway, owes some small part of itself to a Grail myth in some way. And this film doesn't do same thing with Raiders of the Lost Ark. Everyone understands what the Ark of the Covenant basically is. This one is just, Archimedes wanted time travel to stop the Romans attacking Syracuse or something. Even though the dial they referenced was never made by Archimedes, it was also already found in One Piece, and it's been known about since 1901. So all of this breaks history anyway. But if you're going to do ancient Greece and ancient Rome, and you're not going to use any of the mythology or the gods or the temples or the locations, it's a complete waste. Why would the Soviets, who were slightly interested in the occult, not to the same degree as the Nazis were, but slightly interested, why would they not, for example, be trying to find the hidden mystical power in Pythagoras' theories of divine shapes or whatever the fuck it was that he was doing? You could do any number of these things which would be slightly more recognizably Indiana Jones than here's a compass that can take you through time.
Just lazy. That's all it is. Just lazy.
Yeah. I think it's the modern. There's Marvel kind of fucked everything up when they were like, yeah, we have to see that Tony Stark could actually make an Iron Man suit and make it somewhat believable. And so I feel like they were too self-conscious to just be like, magic and gods exist because it's 2023. So they had to be like, math. Does time travel rip holes in the sky now?
I think the dial would work. I mean, yes, I agree that not many people understand Archimedes and the dial and stuff like that, and maybe it's not in similar myths across history. But like I was saying, and kind of alluded to earlier, which if you just nudge the story slightly to him, vigorously looking for the other half of the dial to save his son from Vietnam, it would make an infinitely better story. Maybe he time travels back to Vietnam itself and tries to save his son there. I don't know, but he has Short Round as a sidekick. And right there, you have a better story than, let's say, even Crystal Skull, because he has a big motivation that we could all understand. Mm-hmm. You don't have to really understand the piece in order to understand why Indy is motivated to finding it, and why all these other people might be motivated to find it as well. The Soviets and the CIA is motivated to find him while he's trying to get back to his son. So I think that would be an infinitely better story than the one we got. But anything would be, because they just threw spaghetti at the wall and tried to see what would stick.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. That would be a much stronger story, although you might then end up with Indiana Jones and the Mile High Massacre, for example, which wouldn't be quite such a compelling title for a film.
That'd be pretty awesome, actually.
I do think that there is actually that the moral dilemma of somebody who is a student of history and someone who's always about preserving history. Obviously it belongs in a museum is his most famous line, pretty much, or besides it had to be snakes, but the whole a moral dilemma of possibly being able to change history for somebody like that is fantastic. That they didn't even they literally touched it for 2 lines, and then they just
exactly. Could you imagine someone like Indiana Jones having that moral dilemma of going back and changing history, especially because of his profession and what he's done for at least 5-6 decades? It would have made an infinitely better, more complicated in terms of moral juxtaposition inside the character himself, and what he would have to struggle with in order to bring back his son to life. And I think it would touch on not only the son aspect, which is the younger generation and stuff like that, but also with the generation that now has kids and is watching these movies with them. Mm-hmm. And all the parents that would be watching the film that we're describing right now would sit there and totally understand and relate to Indy Jones trying to save his son, because I don't know what parent wouldn't have something like that in their possession and try and go back and save their son.
Right. It's kind of you could even build it into this script in the way that like you could have the dilemma of Indy either having to destroy the dial or leave it undestroyed and risk like Mads Mikkelsen going back and changing the history of World War II, but he could also use it to go save his son. Like it's written in there that you could have him actually make a choice somewhere in this script and not just be a choiceless, just pointless buffoon the entire time. Where like he has
we're maybe stealing from The Flash, but it will be stealing the best bit from The Flash is that he does this, he goes back in time, he tries to save his son, and he realizes he can't save his son because it will ruin the future. And so he has to leave him in the past because his son belongs in a museum too in a different way.
But now think of it. But now think of it this way. If you just change the casting a little bit, bring back Ki Huy Kwan, Short Round, he can navigate him through Vietnam when he goes back in time. And it would just totally make sense.
Won't he be too old though, technically? Because Short Round's like 10, 11, 12 in 19.
No, but what I'm saying, if you have him in 69 being Indiana Jones's compatriot and helper while he's trying to find the dial.
No, I mean like they'd have to de-age him as well for then the bulk of the movie.
No, not if they both travel back in time to save his son. No, they'd keep him the same age. I'm saying keep the de-aging shit out of it, and it would work. Like, you just totally cut that prologue out because that prologue is worthless anyways to begin with.
Because of the way they de-age, like the age differential between Mads Mikkelsen and Harrison Ford, the de-aging made it make even less sense because they did not age up at the same rate. Like Mads Mikkelsen is clearly not as much older as he was in World War II.
It's that Nazi skin, man. It just does something for you.
Well, it's probably because of the plastic surgery from being hit in the face with that pole.
That too.
It's not a real face.
He's a member of the Aryan race, don't you know? Yeah. So that's obviously the reason. His genes are just better.
Yeah, you thought they had no secrets? Come on. There was a reason they were trying to
one of the
everything.
first like things like visually that like was off for me. I was like, so like. He didn't age really all that. He just got a little.
That's why I thought when he
like,
took that beam to the face that it was going to be something integral to the plot because I was, and then
it was very obvious,
and he looks young, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's
he looked like maybe 10 years older than he was in World War II, like 30 years later. Like, come on, like.
There you go, Vex. Sassy nasty.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that what Hot C Appreciation Committee is about?
Yeah, Hot Nazi Appreciation Committee.
Sorry, I didn't put two and two together with that one.
I didn't get it either. So
you've been rejecting your membership invitation all this time, and really you should have just been in from the start. Speaking of Short Rounds, he hasn't come up in I don't think anything we've been talking about yet. How does what the hell is his name? Teddy. How does Teddy compare to Short Round? Is anybody a fan of Teddy?
I want to know what the fuck Teddy is, because Teddy has a Spanish accent, but apparently he's French, and his last name is Kumar. What is Teddy?
His name is what?
He's an asshole.
He's an ESP quota machine.
Yeah, I was going to say, he checks all the boxes in one person.
Like,
and then we're going to find out he's transgendered as well.
I just couldn't, like, I was so confused by what they were trying to do with him. And on top of that, he had, like, none of the charisma that Short Round had. Like, remember in Temple of Doom, during the actual, like, cave sequence, Short Round comes is like, Indy, like, I love you. Like, you're all I really have. Like, you genuinely feel like this kid has nothing else in the world. And this
Let's
kid,
not pretend that people weren't annoyed by Short Round as well.
No, Short Round was adorable.
Yeah, Short Round was crazy cute.
Short Round,
he didn't just show up unnecessarily. That's why.
A better
And he knew kung fu. This guy didn't even know kung fu, so
but he knew how to fly a plane from using like ping pong paddles.
Right, and this dude knew how to savagely murder 7-foot-tall Nazis underwater as well. So there's that.
That was pretty savage.
Yeah, that's
that scene was actually pretty cool.
So he learns how to swim because one guy at one point says it's easy, you just pull and kick and that's it. So he can't swim before, but then him being told that means he can now swim.
And then
he falls off a bridge
underwater.
Chained to a 7-foot Nazi.
Right.
And
Why
even
are
though
there
they
so
should
many
really have
7-foot
shot him by
Nazis,
now,
by the
not
way?
just because he's annoying, but because that's what they should be doing because they are Nazis. They're technically drowning. They get swept to an underwater grate. He picks the lock with a key. And then rather than swimming, because there's a little hole in the grave, which he can fit through and the 7-foot Nazi can't, rather than leaving the 7-foot Nazi behind because there's no way he can be captured, he re-handcuffs the guy to a grate to ensure that he drowns, which moves beyond manslaughter to premeditated murder.
Horrifying.
So,
I
yeah,
gasped.
Could he claim self-defense?
No, he could
No.
not.
Yes, he doesn't need to claim self-defense. No one's ever gonna find that guy.
Like that dude was already dead, but he just made sure that guy died like the most horrifying. Like all I could think of was like, God, that is a fucking scary way.
Well,
to
he
die.
was a Nazi,
Drowning's pretty.
I
I
mean,
mean,
like, how
yeah.
many fucking Nazis has Harrison Ford killed in this series?
I mean, he killed.
I always
he
like. I
also
legitimately
killed a
thought it
7-foot
was
tall Nazi.
I thought it was hilarious in this movie when he was like, "They think I'm a murderer," and I was like, "You are.
You're also a
You
human
killed like
trafficker."
fucking like probably 1,000 Nazis all by yourself, dude."
My
Remember
favorite.
that time? Remember that time when he shot one bullet through 19 Nazis?
Oh yeah.
When
Last
he-
When he-
yeah.
when he shoots that dude in the
That was
head
the
that's
7th
driving the
yeah.
truck in what's the first one? I always forget.
was
the name.
Raiders?
The
Self-defense,
Raiders.
Raiders Lost.
Yeah, the guy's just like driving a truck past him, and he's like, "I'll just shoot you in the head." I'm like, what?
Well, that was
Who's-
that
who's
was
just
always
letting
the
him
thing
do
was,
this?
Was Indiana
America.
Jones was always shoot first, ask questions later when it came to like those kind of situations.
Mhm.
So-
I don't know. Indiana Jones always came off like I watched all those movies this week, and I was just like, man, this is a pretty heartless character. And in Temple of Doom, when Short Round was like, "I love you, Indy, you're my best friend," and I was like, he doesn't give a fuck about you, dude. Like,
Yeah,
he
it's
would
like,
totally
hey,
just let you die.
He's been dragging this woman around for the entire movie. He's pretty much a human
Hey,
trafficker.
he's just using you, dude. He doesn't care about you.
You're not even in the next movie, bro. They don't give a fuck.
No.
Your career's over for the next
Temple,
10 years, buddy.
technically Temple of Doom is a prequel to Raiders, so like
Yeah,
he
that's
wasn't
what
in
I
the next
mean.
2 movies. So.
He's not even in Raiders.
No,
Like
Fiona
he
checked
ditches
me.
him.
He's a killer, not a murderer. My bad.
Yeah. Duh.
Teddy felt like
Yeah.
a useless character. He didn't need to be there, like whatsoever, and he
Nuh-uh,
was just there for the
because
plane.
he was the person who got the second plane that as soon as he got into it, I was like,
yeah.
oh, that's
Yeah.
the plane.
That's the only
gonna be the
reason he
escape
was
vehicle.
there.
Yes,
The,
that's
Yeah.
the
the,
escape
the
vehicle
plane that he
character.
doesn't know how to fly.
No, he knows how to.
Midnight-
he
That
knows
was
how to
the
fly.
dumbest
He
line,
used-
by the way.
He made
Do
a
you know how to
cut.
fly this
Yeah.
plane? Do you know how to fly this plane? No. Well, you've never flown any plane before. Then why'd you
That's-
ask him the question in the first place?
That is pitch perfect writing right there.
That was
beautiful.
like,
I'm
if you
not
know
even
he's
sure what they
never
were going
flown
for
a
there either,
plane,
because he then runs off and says, "Well, I'll go and start it," and then she says, "Oh fuck!" But what was your plan? You asked him if he could fly it. I don't understand what she was thinking of. She asked him if he could fly a plane. He says no, but basically I'll go and try. And then she says, "Fuck it," and goes and gets a motorbike. So
Yeah.
Ulysses got
What-
really
This is-
into the fields here. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what happens when you get Short Round from the Dollar Tree store. You get Dollar Tree and Short Round
Discount. Short
discount.
it was
Short
just
round.
Quesadilla
weird,
short
too,
round.
because he would
Quesadilla
disappear.
Short Round.
He would disappear for like extended periods of time in whatever the situation was, and come out of nowhere with like a very poignant piece of information that he should have never known. And
There-
he was literally like Deus Ex Machina, the character. He would just show up and just plot device his way through whatever the situation was to give them what they needed.
Yeah.
The bigger problem I had with Teddy is that they gave him a really poignant like backstory that they never build up. And there's a scene when they're in it's like right before they time travel back, right? Because Mads
They were in Sicily.
Mikkelsen. Yeah, in Sicily. Yeah, in Sicily, yes. And he's like, you see him actually try to be a kid, which was a really nice touch because they tried to get you to feel for him a little bit, but then they just didn't flesh out the story enough. So, if anything, I would have liked to see more Teddy in there just because there were glimpses of what could have made for just like a lot of emotion behind Helena's character at the very least. But instead, they just throw it in as like, oh, I found him when he was like 12 and he was about to die, and I took him under my wing.
Can you select which British accent you're going to use?
Oh, that's a perfect. Word. She does
Didn't she
accent.
say he
well.
tried to steal
Migrated
something from
north.
her. He tried to steal something from her, and she smashed his arm repeatedly in a door, but he wouldn't let go. So they've
And
been
they were
tied
together.
together forever. It's like,
Yeah, ever
so
since,
hang on,
yeah.
just to make me like you more, Phoebe Water-Bridge, you've repeatedly slammed a child's head in a door. Okay, I like you more. But otherwise, like Teddy's very few lines of dialogue. One time he complains that they're helping Indiana Jones when they should just be all about the money. So again, don't really like you very much for that. He steals Indy's watch, his dad's watch,
Yeah.
and doesn't want to give it back, and it's only begrudgingly that he and Phoebe Waller-Bridge say, yeah, fine, have it back. Like, nothing about either of those two characters is really written to endear you to them or them to you.
Right. And he also, you just brought up a good point. He has the same background as Short Round. Short Round's backstory is he was trying to pickpocket Indiana Jones, and that's how they met.
Mm-hmm.
And it just hit me right now. This is the same exact background that he has.
Mm-hmm.
That's
incredible.
incredible.
In the theater, I was just like, oh, it's Short Round.
Yeah.
Short the only
Brown.
character I enjoyed
Round
from
Short.
Temple. Round Short.
Yeah.
Short Brown.
Large
Short
Square.
But yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah,
movie
speaking
overall.
of a Short Round, and one of you brought up the ending. So the ending just seemed tacked on, and my whole thing during the ending, I was like, why didn't they go back and do reshoots like they did before, but just add in Short Round taking up the mantle when they come back from the Roman era, and have Short Round take up the mantle of Indiana Jones, because I was like, that would have been a way more, I guess, satisfying end compared to what we got.
I don't think he had won an Oscar yet. I feel like if he won that Oscar a little earlier, they would have been like, let's revolve this movie around that.
Did you hear James Mangold's excuse? I think Copa might have actually shared this on Twitter already for not having Short Round. He didn't want it to be one of those terrible kinds of cameos where they're just forced in. It's like, unlike all of the other cameos in the film.
Right.
Okay.
Like the Indiana Jones cameo in this movie.
Yeah, he didn't want that
so
type
forced
of,
in.
He didn't want that type of fan service. I'm like, well,
he didn't want to be like Fletch.
Like,
he's a more sophisticated film.
Christopher Reeves pops up in the end.
D.H. Sean Connery.
Right, D.H. Sean Connery.
My
I am
blood is
all the
boiling
Nazis, and I am all the Joneses. And then
I fucking hate existing in this timeline. Holy shit.
Can we get a timeline where Green Lantern was good? Imagine.
Imagine what would have
I
happened.
mean, if you want to have a conversation about the Green Lantern movie, I'm all about that, but it's probably not the time for it.
That shit's gonna get retconned so fucking hard in Deadpool 3. I mean, he already did, I guess.
They actually have no right to retcon it, though. That's not their property.
It's Ryan Reynolds. It'll be fine.
Wasn't it Fox?
No,
no,
Banner?
DC is
WB.
Warner
That's
Brothers.
DC.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, actually, no.
I
There
heard.
was a scene in Deadpool 2 where you literally see him revisit a scene
Yeah.
of
He
himself
shoots
in Green
himself in the
Lantern.
head.
Yeah,
but, like,
so
as
I
he's
think
looking
it's
at the script.
okay.
They did something to get around the
Did you-
copyright.
I have no idea how they got around that.
It's Ryan Reynolds. They
I think
just
it's
let
because
him
it's
do
Ryan
whatever.
Reynolds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's also, I think you're allowed to use, like, you can write the Green Lantern on a piece of paper and have it in a movie. And that doesn't, like, break any copyright. So.
Yeah. Did you guys see the Deadpool 3 plot got leaked?
Nope.
If it's real. You don't want to read it. You don't. I'm not
Deadpool-
going to tell you.
it's
I'm
not
not going
gonna-
to tell you.
Does Daredevil come in it?
I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm not telling you
No,
anything.
but does No, tell me. Does Ben
I'm not
Affleck
going
come
to.
in?
No,
like,
because
come on,
we're
no,
on a
I need you.
stream. I'm not going
No.
to tell you anything.
No,
I
I
will. Daredevil.
Yes, no
I
question.
will. I'm not saying anything on a stream
Put it,
because
put it in the private chat.
I will put it in the private chat. Hold on.
If-
Let me-
wait, why
Channing
can't
Tatum
you
say
Hey,
anything
chat.
on
I'll tell you
screen?
what he says.
You will not. I'm not doing it now. I'll do it afterwards. Afterwards,
my
I'll tell you. I don't want to.
If I get to see Channing Tatum as Gambit, I'll be happy. I don't care what the movie's about. If I see that, I'm in.
Yeah, I don't know if it's real or not, but let me just say right now, there are a lot of freaking cameos in this movie. There's so many cameos. If it's real,
because that's the lesson that Disney has learned from movies recently, is just throw in cameos and that will fix all the problems.
Yeah, because those are being received very well.
I feel
I
like
would argue.
Continue that trend.
Vex.
No, sorry, I was going to argue that I would say like the cameo thing is not a recent thing. They've been doing that since day one. That's why they chose Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. That's why they put Jeff Bridges in there too. That's why they chose William Hurt to be what's his face's father. Like they were doing it from the very beginning because that was the only way to loop in the audience of the 80s and 90s to watch a CGI mess on the screen of a superhero. So
I don't know. Hang on. I think there's a huge difference between casting a well-known actor and an actor who's been well-known for starring in similar-ish films decades ago, but writing them into a story, say Jeff Bridges and Iron Man, versus just a conveyor belt reel, a display shot window of people like we saw in The Flash. That's what I would define as a a cameo fest.
I guess
not just-
I'm overlaying it, right? Like I'm saying more. It's bait either way, I guess is the point I'm trying to get at, right?
Hey Matt,
Well,
can you verify this accuracy? Is this?
I can. It is.
Did you put it?
I can. Yes, I can.
Wait,
Can
so
you
we're
shoot
visiting
Loki?
Nazis in there as well?
Can we shoot Loki? Can you just show up and shoot Loki, please?
I can.
In that season.
Who was that posted that? Drew Gordon. Yeah, Drew Gordon. Yeah, he's pretty right.
Thanks.
Hey, Drew
Okay.
Gordon. Drew Gordon, keep typing things, and then Matt will keep saying yes or no. Just keep typing.
Well, I don't want to give, because some people don't like spoilers. I love spoilers, but what I read, I didn't see Daredevil in there. So, but it could be in there because what I saw was like.
Can you verify this?
Was like 3 or 4.
Can you verify this unverifiable?
No,
Can you
because
That way we can
Have
uncover
that
your
verified.
face. Your face will remain covered until you.
this right here.
Verify it.
Not.
Gun points.
I cannot verify that.
No one can apparently, but since we are on
I will. It's
superheroes,
true.
I guess, and maybe without spoiling the plot of a film that maybe some people somewhere for some reason might give a shit about, I genuinely don't understand why. Did we have Secret Invasion on the docket for this particular stream? Is
I
anybody
think it
keeping
was
up with
more we were talking about. All right, put in the description just the general disinterest that audiences seem to have with the
general
MCU.
superhero stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, carry on then.
But we can
It's
talk
boring.
about.
Carry on
Yeah,
with
it's
what? We were talking
boring.
about-
It's
I mean,
so boring.
I watched all but 5 minutes of the second episode specifically for this, so I would like to talk about it, so I don't feel like I wasted all that time.
I told you not to.
Let's make him feel like
He did. He did tell me.
Let's
He
move
told
on.
me not to prepare for the show.
Yeah, I said don't prepare for this. Well,
I
go on,
watched
tell
it.
us, yeah, what you think about it? Sorry, guys.
It's still boring. It's still very boring.
And I was hoping that they would at least do like in the comic books where it's like this kind of mystery where you're trying to guess who's a Skrull, but they're not even trying to do that. I'm all like, every time somebody shows up, I'm like, well, that's a Skrull, and then when they become a Skrull, I'm like, well, that's no. Like right now, I can tell you right now, I think the president and Rhodey, I think Rhodey's a Skrull. I think that anybody that's like just shows
Everyone's
up,
a Skrull.
Any
and the thing.
cameo.
And I'm just like, I'm like, it's so annoying because the comic book, if you ever read the comic book, it's like when somebody shows up as Skrull, you're like, no, shut up. I totally didn't guess that. And it was way cool. And I just don't think they're going to do that with this show ever. And I wish that they would try to capture the essence of what the comic book had
They would have had to
accomplished.
start setting up for it a long time ago. That's the problem. They would have had from like the moment they introduced the Skrulls in Captain Marvel. They would have needed to start setting up the characters, and the characters that have been shown as Skrulls are people who were just introduced in this, outside of Talos and stuff. So they're not. There can't be a surprise to it because they're literally people that were just made up for now, and that's the big problem. Yeah. If they wanted to, really the big problem with the Secret Invasion storyline not being able to be used at all is because they're never going to bring all these big name actors onto the show to begin with to like show them as Skrulls, which would be required for the story to work. But let's say you did want to dial it down into a lower tier thing. You should have at least been peppering these characters, this senator, this president of India or whatever she was. I don't know, but like all these people who they're doing that with should have at least shown up beforehand, not in just the second episode of this show and be like, oh, look, can you believe that the person in charge of whatever part of NATO is a Skrull? Like, yes, I can, because you told me last episode.
Okay, question. You know how every time Fury interacts with, I guess, one of the Skrulls that he knows closer, he always does like the forehead touch thing, right? And that's clearly like, it's like a handshake sort of, but people are trying to romanticize it a little bit. Is that something he did in Captain Marvel when he met Skrulls? Has anyone done that before in any of the Marvel films?
No, when he first was meeting all now I've only seen Captain Marvel like 2 times, and it was a long time ago.
2 times, yikes!
Dang!
Whoa. Wow,
Wow.
that's 2 more than I have.
I watched it once and I was like, all right.
Okay. In fairness, one of them was on a Mahler's like Unbridled, so I don't know if that counts.
that
as
doesn't
watching the
count.
movie. But he shows like every scene of the movie, so it's like
Yeah, but you get a British accent, and he goes,
That's true.
He said anyway. Plank goes and does this.
Yeah.
So,
but
that video is actually enjoyable, unlike the film it was reviewing. So you don't really appreciate the full pain of Captain Marvel if you watch somebody make a better product out of it.
He never actually did like he wouldn't have been able to do that because he was just meeting the Skrulls at that point. He wouldn't have been doing the like head nod thing. Like,
the only time it would probably happen is like Far From Home, but I don't think it happens there.
You know, I heard this. No, we've seen this story in the MCU already. It was called Captain America: Winter Soldier, and it was when you found out everyone was secretly Hydra.
Which they reference in the second episode, by the way.
So it's
to
basically
try and
the same
justify all
story,
the
except
Skrull
you use
stuff.
fucking like Halloween masks now. Like,
Wait, do they say Hydra is Skrulls? Or
No,
no.
It's the
That
same
Hydra has
thing.
infiltrated everything.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what the secret invasion storyline should be for this.
They referenced a better product.
Is this
and they
like,
insulted Robert Redford in the process.
Oh no
Dicks.
way.
Yeah.
Well, is this like They Live? You put on the glasses and you see scrolls everywhere?
No.
That'd be funny.
that would be funner.
It's you know what I don't see. No one's really brought it much up, but the second. Okay, it was a subtle thing in the first episode, but the second episode just basically assumes that everybody hates black people, I guess, in this universe.
Yeah.
Because they
That's just
continuously
That's
point out like Nick Fury is a black man in Moscow. She's like, "Oh, why are you here? Like you're a black man, clearly." And then they do this weird racist trope
That
where
was
they kind of throw in
fantastic, by the way.
like 70s black people, like funk music and everything at the end. And then he's talking about stories from Detroit, and he's got like the black scent going on.
Tell me something I don't know.
This show is so bad. Like,
I mean,
is
the bit when he
bad.
says, like, even though we share an ancestry, it's not going to stop me firing you.
weird.
It's like, well,
Yeah.
Why? How is that relevant to anything you're talking about? And also, you don't share a fucking ancestry because Africa isn't a single fucking country, you moron.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. They said so.
Yeah, and what's her the Khaleesi? I don't remember her name. The Khaleesi. I don't understand why she's
Amelia
just.
Clark?
Yes, thank you. But she's supposed to be the Skrull queen, and I don't understand how she's relegated to this like little bitch. And
She also
she's
hasn't
just, like,
been seen as a Skrull at any one point. Like
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
tell who in their contracts negotiated more Skrull time versus less Skrull time.
Yeah, and I love the Fox News reference with the FXN. I was like, oh, get the hell out of here! I'm so sick and tired of this nonsense. But it's so bad, and it could have been good. And
No,
yeah.
it couldn't have been.
I mean, if they, I don't know, if they just would have captured the essence and the spirit of the comic book, I really feel like they could have done a good job, because the comic book, if you ever read it, I suggest reading it, and don't let anybody spoil it for you beforehand, but it's really good. It's well written. I personally enjoyed it. There was times when I was like literally like, shut the fuck up. That when a Skrull was sorry, baby. When a Skrull would turn, yeah, I forgot for a second.
Earmuffs.
Daddy, sit back.
We've all been there.
Dad's a couple glasses of white in. So.
Yes,
Hey,
but-
Dad's sleeping on the
Been there.
couch tonight. All right.
yeah, there's one specific character like at the end of the series that turned into a Skrull, and I was literally like, oh my god, I can't believe they did this. It was crazy, but it's really good. I wish they could have. I wish they could have just captured what the comic had brought to the whole storyline. It would have been really, really good.
But that hasn't happened in like any Marvel
I think-
MCU.
I don't know.
Forever.
I thought Civil War did a decent job. It wasn't exactly like Civil War,
It
but
wasn't anything like Civil War.
but
in
they
the
didn't have
comic.
all the
Yeah, but
characters
it did its own.
from
Spider-Man
It did its own
showed
thing,
up.
and
That's
it did
all
it
I
well.
needed.
Yeah, Civil War was Civil War was probably the best fucking MCU movie. Honestly.
I thought that they at least captured the essence of Civil War, and,
Yeah.
and I thought that there was this one. There's no way we're gonna have a Tony Stark Captain America where he was like he's my best friend. He's like, I thought I was. I don't think we're ever gonna get a moment like that from this show. And if they would have captured the essence of the comic books like Civil War did, we might get that moment. But we're never gonna get that moment because it sucks.
Yeah.
It's indicative of like the issue with MCU shows as a whole, which is like they just keep taking movie scripts and extending them unnecessarily and fluffing them out until they can take up 6 episodes, and then giving each one of them, like, they don't have the budget of like a 6-hour movie. So they're trying to stretch this budget out. They're trying to stretch a story out that's clearly meant for 2 hours. And they're trying to turn it into 6 hours with what, like $100 million per episode, which is a fucking insane amount.
How much?
Wait, what did you
That
just
was
say?
what the budget was for. What was it, Loki or something? I don't know. There was one of them that had like $90 million an episode or something crazy.
No.
$90 million. That's insane.
So they were
No.
putting in mad money. Was that
I'm gonna
something
check.
else? Please check for
Yeah,
me.
somebody else check. I'm sick.
Is that Rings of
But
Power?
they're
Yeah.
they're
Yeah, that was
having
like
the
$1 billion.
the same budget as
maybe
movies.
9 million, but not 90.
They're
Holy
not-
God.
But like they
But
can't
even
get
9
any-
million, where is that money going? Because it's clearly not.
Location
It's going to
shoots. There
Sam
you go.
Jackson. Like they don't have the money to bring in people to bring, like, to have the connective tissue that everybody was promised from the MCU shows. Because the whole point of the MCU, the reason that it was successful in the first place, is because you have connective tissue and characters moving in and out of people's movies, and they can't afford to do that, and they can't afford to write that into these scripts and know whether these actors are going to be available for that amount of time, or whether they're going to be able to pay them the amount of money they need to pay them to come into these shows. So they're destined to fail every time they come out, until they, like, the only one that might be okay is Daredevil, because it's the first one when they're like, maybe we should write these as TV episodes instead of long movies and cut at random times.
I'm
So
really
isn't this
scared for
where-
Daredevil.
Oh.
But it's Disney Plus, and if we've seen so far with Disney Plus, especially in the last like maybe 3 or 4 shows that they've released, you really get a sense that they're using AI to write their shows. So I do not have hopes with Daredevil either. It's going to be another AI driven show.
Isn't this where the industry is going, though? Aren't we going to just reach a point pretty soon where a lot of they'll probably bring back all these characters at some point, but it'll be the point where like actors can just sell off, I guess, the AI rights or some shit like that, so they can just put in a stunt double and then de-age a face or something, because it's clearly something that they're using more freely in the Disney properties, anyways.
That's the
So-
fight in the WGA, and now it's going to be the actors' strike as well. But the fact of the matter is that no matter how much you do this, the audience can still tell. Like they can't tell if it's machine driven or not, but they can tell that it's crap and that it's not real.
Yeah,
It's like exactly. And like when you're watching something that's heavily CGI driven now, how many times have you seen people complain like, hey, the effects in like the early 90s looked way better than the crap that we're getting now? And it's solely because they are using it as a crutch, and your eye, no matter what, can differentiate what is real and what is not. Like it doesn't have to consciously be there for the audience, but they just know. They know on a deep level that what they're watching isn't real or tangible for the actors to play on. It's going to start looking more like everything is a Pixar movie because nothing is real in it.
And that's why there's dwindling numbers. Like, what was it, 2.8 million for Loki's premiere, and now it's down to 700,000 or something.
Yeah, they were bragging about not even cracking 1 million, basically. I think
You were bragging about it?
Yeah, they were like bragging about it. They were like, "Oh, look, the first episode of Secret Invasion got like 900,000 views," and like, there's like, YouTube channels that get that in a day.
Right.
Moist Critical gets like 3 million views in 24 hours on the video every day.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're bombing, bro.
Yeah, well, that's basically they were trying to spin it as a narrative of like, look, we got nearly 1 million people to watch, but then that requires that people forget that you at one point were getting almost 3 million people to watch.
Wow.
So,
Well, and it kind of like I feel like it's coming to an end, especially with Indiana Jones costing $330 million, and clearly it's not going to make its budget back. It's going to lose the studio a ton of money.
It's 429 million if you include the 100 million spent on marketing. Actually,
there was more than 100
Well, they
million
never
spent on marketing.
include that.
More than that.
Yeah,
they never include that because that would change the narrative.
And with Hollywood accounting, they're going to include all the promotional tickets that they've already given to Applebee's because
Applebee's,
so those
$35 Applebee's meals.
Yeah, so there's Applebee's deal. It's like if you spend like $35, you get an Indiana Jones ticket, and none of these people are using it, but they're counting
it. Goes to Applebe's.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
I went there a month ago. Fuck off.
All right,
2 for $20, baby.
Come on.
My kids love Applebee's.
Yeah, but those tickets are counted as part of the sale.
Well,
already.
eventually investors are going to be like, I want my fucking money back. Like
Right.
there's only
yeah.
so much money
Well,
you can lose and so many people you can go to, so many countries you can try to placate to get fucking foreign funding before
Well, this
people are
is-
like, no,
Yeah,
there's
this
no
is not
return on
working.
investment because they've turned it into an investment hub. It's like they're no longer making movies, they're making products that people are investing in and expecting a return on. So once that doesn't happen, we're gonna eventually I can't imagine a world where we don't start getting better movies like Extraction 2. And I keep going back to that shit because it
Yeah.
fucks me up that it cost $70 million. That movie
Yeah.
looks just
Phenomenal.
ridiculously
It's
better than
fantastic,
Indiana Jones. And
yeah.
I
Better,
feel
far
like,
better green screens than Indiana Jones as well.
my God,
which is
yeah.
We've seen this this budget cut thing where like people are reducing their budgets, like with DC, like the new Superman movie that's coming out only has a budget of 140 million.
Yeah, that's really smart.
So
Yup.
even James Gunn said, like, I don't know if it was James Gunn or someone over at DC, they were like, yeah, we need to win back the fans, and in order to do that we need to make small budget stuff stuff relative to
Right.
what has come
Joker,
out
$70
before.
million,
So, like,
and $1 billion. at the
at least
box
DC is learning, like, hey, we need to like win back the fans, and we can't just be throwing money at this stuff anymore.
Well,
Isn't
because
the
when you,
budget for the second Dune film only about 130 million? And then you compare how
Really?
that trailer looks
Yeah.
versus the CGI in Indy 5. And
Yeah.
you're going,
Wow.
What
was
so
the-
see,
where
that's the
that
thing.
number-
When you
Dune movie?
when you pare a budget down, that already cuts out your CGI elements, which means you only can go two routes, which is only one route, which is a better story. Like you have to write a good story, good compelling story that will keep asses in seats the entire time.
Also, like, I feel like Disney has a big issue with they're trying to like algorithmically craft their movies, right? So they're like planning. I'm sure they're writing scripts that are way better than what we end up seeing, and then they're showing it to people, going back, making changes, and it's the changes over and over again and the reshoots that are bumping these budgets up to insane numbers. So it's like Dune. There's no way that Denis Villeneuve was like, oh, I got to change my third act, so we're gonna have to bump the budget $70 million because he knows exactly what he's. If you can plan these shots and you know what you're doing, you have a visual effects director on set.
Whoa, are you
visual fart.
Visual
visual
fart.
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 That was
Yeah.
the best.
That's what happened to Indiana Jones.
Right.
If you have a good enough director on set that's actually watching what the fuck you're doing, you can keep things to a smaller budget.
Right.
You just have to actually know what you're doing and plan these things out properly.
Well, one of the problems with that is that they keep hiring, like, so they essentially have like these, situations where they are hiring a director, but then they have like 9 other people that are directing portions of movies over at Disney. So it's like they have to pay all those people. That raises the production budget. Then you have they're bringing over in like, 8 or 9 writer teams. You have to pay all those people. That raises the production budget. It's like, what the good old days of having 1 or 2 writers and 1 director are like long gone, it seems, with a lot of the, at least on Disney's end.
Yes.
A black cat has crossed the screen. Is that bad luck for all of us now?
It's only if it crosses the screen again from the same direction, then we know we're in trouble. But...
Bad face, you want to take care of that?
Oh, I live in the Matrix, bro. The cats just they rule here.
Just come out of
It's
nowhere.
deja vu.
In all honesty, though, can anyone give like a realistic reason why something like Indiana Jones is costing $400 million though?
I love how we moved on to Secret Invasion and went right back to
Well, it's just all of these Disney productions have such bloated budgets, right? So it's
The
like
bu- the bloated
realistically, where's
budget-
all this going?
It's for the reshoots. Like
cost a lot of
terrible management. and
They're
retiming
laundering money. There's no part of me that doesn't believe.
Oh
that
no,
they're
there's
laundering
100%
money.
like it's palm greasing all over the place.
But if you look at the movie, there's not one element that doesn't have CGI in it. Even the moment when Sala yells at Indy and says, "Goodbye, Indiana Jones."
They're behind him.
Give him hell, Indiana Jones.
Yeah, do your thing, dude.
Andrew, you should do voice acting.
I'll dub the entire movie.
How elitist
That
can you
entire
get,
scene-
Andrew?
But that entire scene was CGI.
Did
Except for the
anybody
car,
catch
Indy, and him.
Yeah, the background was all
Anybody catch the
CGI.
scene with the really terrible I know there was a few of them, but there was one scene with really terrible ADR where it was like he went to go. You could see he mouthed the word shit. It was like it's a big bunch of shit, but they changed it to a bunch of gears Did anyone else catch that besides me?
It's a bunch of gears.
Yeah, it looked like it legitimately looked like a TV edit, and I was like, for a $300 million budget, you should not be looking like a TV edit. Like
For a $300 million budget, you would think they would match his de-aged face and
To his
de-aged
voice.
That's why I'm so confused. Like this is a really like costly production, and they couldn't get really basic things right. So I just really want to see the spreadsheet. Where did
you'll
all the
never
money
see
go?
it. It's
spending
movie
$60 million
accounting is like
to...
some of the worst like secret keeping there is. Like their way that they hide things in budgets and stuff. It's because they're moving so much money for so many things. It's easy to exactly. Someone just said money laundering again. It's basically legal money laundering because they could hide things in these little pocket budgets.
Well, yeah, it's just Hollywood accounting. So they always set up a shell corporation, and all this money gets dumped into it. And then so like even Star Wars on paper hasn't made its budget back because the shell corporation. It's just Hollywood accounting is very, very complicated, but it works out to where they're getting paid. The actors don't get paid their residuals and stuff like that, and neither do the writers and things of that nature. And then other people get their palm greased as well. Yeah, I don't think all $300 million went into this movie. Let's just say that. I know that for a fact.
The girl that wrote Mean Girls, the original book, she sold the rights to the movie to Universal or whoever the fuck made the movie. There's like a cool story of how they did some special accounting to be like, this movie actually never made a profit, so we can't give you any residuals.
No Hollywood movie. No
so
Hollywood
movie on paper. She only signed for residuals, so she gave the rights up for $0.
Oh my
Wow.
Yeah, no Hollywood movie makes money on paper. So when you sign off for a deal for your rights to be taken or whatever, or you sign off to, let's say you're an actor, they always want to give you a percentage of the profits when you sign on, instead of taking a residual. But what you want is a percentage of the ticket sales. So because if you take a percentage of the profit, you'll never see that money ever. They never make money.
The shit's going to Epstein's lawyers. That's it.
Someone said in the chat too. I remember seeing a documentary about this of Peter Mayhew never making any money because he signed for residuals for the last Jedi.
Exactly. Yeah.
The thing is,
Or
people
no,
at
it's
least
Return
did
of
go
the Jedi.
and see The Last Jedi, whereas I think the money laundering thing doesn't really apply quite so easily to Indy 5 because there's only so much. Well, you don't really need to hide money if you're not making any money on it to begin with. The fact that nobody is going to see this film, it's losing money objectively as opposed to money just being squirreled away as a kind of an accounting trick. So there are some serious losses happening. I mean, Disney's reported $700 or $900 million over the last 7 or 8 films. Now you can put some of that aside for creative accounting, but I don't think you can put the whole lot aside for creative accounting. The fact is, Elemental's bombed, Lightyear bombed, Indy 5 bombed, the last MCU film bombed, Ant-Man bombed, Flash bombed. All of these things are objectively losing money, as well as any accounting tricks that may be undertaken.
Does anybody know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's bombing that is objective that we're all looking at, and then there's creative Hollywood accounting to say Avatar never made its budget back, let alone make any kind of money.
True. It was a flop.
Yeah. Like on paper, the Hollywood accounting says Avatar is a loss, and they'll take that tax write-off.
Yep.
Didn't Robert Downey Jr. when he signed on to Endgame sign like part of his contract was that he got some of like the ticket sales?
Yeah, he got the ticket sales.
There we go.
They all started doing that.
Civil War.
And
I think
he got
that.
He got that, and he got the idea from Johnny Depp, because Johnny Depp did the same thing for Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's why,
and they're friends. So like basically, it was like hey, this is the best way to go.
When ScarJo sued Disney, when they put Black Widow on Disney Day and Date, she sued them because she had a deal for ticket sales.
Yes, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah.
I think somebody had it might have been Den of Geek. It's some out there or another is so desperate to find something to report on about Secret Invasion that they're hypothesizing they might bring Natasha Romanoff back because Scarlett Johansson is signed on to a secret project, although she signed on as a producer. I think it's complete bullshit. But
isn't the sister
that's how
now the
desperate
next
people are.
lineup though from Black Widow? Okay.
Helena.
What's Helena? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's hot as fuck.
I
I'll watch her do anything.
Florence
She is.
Pugh, I'll watch her
Pugh.
anytime.
I didn't watch Black Widow. I didn't care. So
You
I
don't
did
this
not.
character's already dead. I don't
You're
care.
Listen, she's in
fine,
Hawkeye
yeah.
too. You can enjoy her there.
That's right.
Can you though?
She's eating mac and cheese.
I do like
Okay.
it.
Haley
Sure.
Steinfeld's there. What can you not ask for?
Yeah, those were good scene. That was a good scene. All those scenes with those two were good.
I was
that was a good
looking
episode.
to the
That was a
scene.
good
All I
episode.
know is
I
that
guess mac and
Haley
cheese makes it
Steinfeld.
better.
Haley Steinfeld was in the scene, so
They were two
it was
hot
already good.
bitches eating my favorite food, so I was happy.
That's my wife you're talking about, Haley Steinfeld. You better watch your mouth.
Hey, hey, watch
Mac
your
and
mouth.
cheese.
Is
That,
she
that's,
cheating?
that's true American
She's
cuisine
mine.
right there. Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese, it's the best.
What else was? Is that it for Secret Invasion? There's really nothing to say.
There's
about it.
nothing.
so-
Yeah, we didn't
yeah.
even want to go
Really that
Secret
much to
Invasion.
say.
Talk about
Honestly, it was
Hawkeye.
just, just
It's
some, it was
boring.
boring.
It's
It's
not
boring.
developed.
I think
It's-
who's that British
Even-
lady? She fucking kills. I could also watch her. Do
Olivia
anything.
Colman. I
Oh
love
my
her.
god,
Yeah,
she's
I like her.
so good
I
in
did-
every scene.
yeah, I loved it when she cut off his finger and she's like, "All right, let's party," and everything. I
there's-
was like, "Yeah, that's
Well,
good.
there's-
That's good. I like
a
that."
broken clock is right twice a day. You're gonna get some things that are good
True.
in anything that's bad for the most part.
I mean, they made
Yeah.
Christian Bale fucking bad in a movie, so
Yeah, they
That's
did.
true. That's
True.
true.
He
That's
wouldn't have
talent.
done it if it weren't for his kid, though.
Oh, there
Just
was
remember
one thing.
that.
What was it? It was the like the terrorist organization had like the dumbest name ever.
The
It
Hand?
was
Or wait,
no. So it was because it was just
In
in
Winter
quick in
Soldier?
passing in the news article of the episode. It was and I quote Americans against Russia.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
the
yeah.
name of the. It was it's like could you get
Wow.
any more on the nose with that one?
Yeah.
It's like, it was,
Yeah, it's even the like reveal that they're trying to do the Super Skull. I was like, who cares? It's not even. I don't even care anymore.
they show it in the fucking trailer. That's what I don't understand about this show. They've shown like so many plot points in the trailer. You're like, I know what that is. I know what
Yeah.
that is.
I didn't
yeah.
see the trailer. Didn't need to see the trailer. Didn't
Yeah.
care.
It's
Didn't
no
look-
good.
Yeah, I won't be watching anymore, though. It's
Yeah,
it's
I
literally
watched
a
that
waste of
episode for
time.
this for that 5 minutes worth of talking about it.
How
so.
many
I, know,
episodes?
I
Yeah,
have
I'm sure
like
it's
it's
all
one
out.
time every week when I sit down thinking I'm sure there's something that I need to have seen this week. Oh, Secret Invasion, and then I put it on, and within 5 minutes I have found some pressing need to do literally anything else. So like, I've watched
Yeah.
both episodes twice. I barely remember anything about them.
Yeah.
It's trying vaguely to do a slight sort of spin on John le Carre, and it's not working at all. Olivia Colman seems to be having fun. Shame nobody else is,
Yeah.
including the audience. So hooray for that.
I'll just play Among Us.
Yeah, it could have been there's so many things that could have been done right, and it's just not doing any of them. That's the problem.
Can I-
Like I said, they could have set up for this for slowly in the background of all the movies for a while, or even all the some of the TV shows, whatever. But to just drop characters and then try to play it off like you're supposed to be surprised that these people are Skrulls. It's like no shit, they just showed up. Like there's a reason you're introducing them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Vex, have you
Yes.
watched The Witcher yet? I don't know
No,
a single
I'm-
person that has.
Forgot that started again.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
I'm waiting till
know.
the second half of the season comes out, and then I'll just watch it all in one. I have to honestly, I don't remember much of the first season. I gave up 2 episodes into the second season, so I have to actually watch everything before I do
Yeah.
a review of that,
That
third
sucks.
season.
That sucks. for you. I'm
Has
sorry you gotta
anyone
go through
here
that.
seen The Witcher so far? Because I've heard some bad
No.
things, but I haven't seen it.
No.
I've never
I-
watched anything The Witcher. I don't really care for it.
Yeah, I
The
felt
first
like-
season was
I was
alright.
yeah, I was bored by it. I dropped out by the middle of season 1.
That first
Damn.
season was garbage. I don't know why people
was
thought
bad.
it was so good. Yeah.
Henry
They-
Cavill. It's for
No,
Henry
Henry
Cavill's
Cavill's
pretty
literally the
fucking
only
cool.
good thing that they get right, but they rush through all of the stories. They rush through all of the character development. They skip a lot of character development, and then they spend time on development that really nobody gives fuck all about. Like the whole oh gosh, Yennefer's whole background story with why she can't have
Oh,
children.
she's-
Oh, so stupid.
It was absolutely useless in the grand scheme of where season 1 ends up going. So I don't understand why people thought like Henry Cavill, I think, is what knocked that show from like a 4 to an 8 for everyone,
To
guaranteed.
an 8.
For
That's
sure.
strong.
8.
Maybe a
Like-
6.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no, seriously, because people love that first season so much. That's
Right.
why.
Yeah. I agree.
Like it's
Are we talking about The Witcher right now? I'm sorry. I'm
It's whatever you
Talking
want.
about free-for-all now.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. Well, long story short, I'm watching the 3rd season right now, part 1, and
Oh,
I'm
okay,
so confused. I don't know what's going on. I was like, I'm I must have missed something because I was like, I don't even know. And every time Siri gets mentioned, I'm like, hey Siri. But it's a bad show now. I don't enjoy it. And my phone turned on.
So what is happening in season 3? Since you're the only person on this panel of pop culture reviewers who's actually seen it.
Okay, so Suri, she's a conduit to some other realm. I'm so confused. There's these like ring wraiths. There's these ring wraiths coming in, but they're trying to get her and everything. I've only watched the first 3 episodes so far, but and he doesn't want to talk to Yennefer because the last season I can't remember, she opened a portal and took Ciri away from him or whatnot. And then they're trying to get back to the magic school, and so they split up. And the Witcher has gone after that dude that has fire because he's gonna go try to kill him, but he's also gonna try who his puppet master is. And I'm so confused the whole time. I even asked my wife, I was like, what's going on here? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, oh, this is so confusing. It's bad. It's a bad show. It's a bad show. But I do love Henry Cavill. He's very good in it. I enjoy him immensely.
Well, that's okay, I suppose. Well, so since we're on Henry Cavill, I think the only other thing I can think of that's come out since we were last on air is that Superman has been recast, has he not? Yes. What do people think of his slightly younger clone?
He's an AliExpress version of Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry Cavill will be fine. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much.
We just gotta wait really till it comes out because like people are like, oh, he's skinny. It's like, guys, people work out. Right. Like Henry Cavill did the same thing. Like.
Nah, Henry Cavill was already pretty big before.
He was pretty jacked before, but you have Christian Bale who did The Machinist.
Christian Bale's ridiculous. He jumps back and forth.
But he did The Machinist and he was like 80 pounds. And then
he immediately did The Dark Knight. Yeah, he immediately did The Dark Knight right after that, and he was like 216 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was like
it was a quick jump. Yeah,
I think James Gunn, if anything, he has a very, very good eye for casting. Like I've never watched a movie that he's cast and like not felt like it was the right person to be playing that role.
Yeah,
but why fire Henry Cavill just to replace him with
they need a younger version.
You don't have to pay him as much.
They're rebooting the universe because the fucking unit. Did you see how much money The Flash made? You should delete every person that's ever been in a DC movie under Zack Snyder's fucking banner.
I mean, it is. You don't understand.
Come on, backface.
But it's like
I don't understand the dick riding for Cavill Superman. Like Cavill's a good writer. There was never a moment where I was like, wow, he's the only person that could be playing this version of Superman. It's just the most fucking
he is
milquetoast, like just no character, like anyone.
Well, that's bad writing.
That's just bad writing. Direction from Snyder.
Oh yeah. But that's what I mean is like you've just watched Cavill be a fucking blank slate in a blue suit for the past like 10 years. And everybody's like, whoa, you can't replace him. It's like, what do you mean?
People are just desperate for him to be in a good movie.
Yeah.
That's the main crave of it is like, Cavill
Cavill's literally born to play Superman. Like he has the look.
I loved it when his receding hairline was really kicking in around Batman versus Superman. That looked great.
Everyone sees the potential. That's the issue. That's why everyone loves Cavill. Is the potential was never met.
Has Henry Cavill ever actually been like just like wow, his acting chops blew me away in any movie, or is it just like he's really handsome and he got hair implants? So that
I liked him in the Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah, the Mission Impossible
movie. He was really good.
Yeah, he was really good in Mission Impossible.
But no one else. His arms are shot. Just like fucking wow, man. Henry Cavill, baby. Woo!
He's not a lead man. He doesn't feel like a lead man to me. Like if you gave him that entire fucking Superman movie, and it was like, yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen so many straight people simp for a fucking dude before. It's really weird.
It's really fucking weird.
I think it's the cult of lost potential. It's like he's one step short of Kennedy being assassinated and everyone cooming over him for the next several decades because of what could have been. He could have been great, but he hasn't been in anything that's good. So I sort of sit half and half. I think he could have been. He has the ideal look for a number of characters, James Bond, Superman being sort of foremost among them. He's never been cast in anything in which he is good or where the role is good. So it's hard to say whether or not he really is capable of being.
That leads me to believe he's not capable, though. He's not getting cast. I would assume he's going to these auditions.
The reason they're recasting it is because they want they want to do a younger Superman, and Cavill is just too old for that, and especially for like a 10-year plan. Cavill's had his 10 years. Man of Steel came out 10 years ago. It is impossible for him to exist as Superman unless they do. I mean, they could de-age him unless they just kill him off and like they do the Superwoman.
I'm gonna raise my hand.
Everybody's raising their hands.
Oh my god!
Woman of
Tomorrow.
So here's the thing about Cavill.
Vex raised her hand first. So Vex, over to you.
Okay, listen. Okay, he's not. Yes, thank you. He's not an A-list actor. I can freely admit that. But when he nails a role, he really does nail a role. So I think his performance as Geralt is pretty good because when I'm watching that, I'm just like, hey, that's pretty spot on to the Geralt that I played as in The Witcher 2 and 3, right? So I can say, but then again, the show is shit, so it brings it all down. So he's just an actor that never gets the right role, I would argue, more than anything.
I feel like he could be good too. Yeah.
Also, he's like one of the only people that respects source material. And especially
I raised my hand. You did not.
You can go. I'll add on after you're done.
I was gonna say that's the thing people really get like super horny over for him is the fact that he actually reads the books and cares about the stuff. I think if he didn't look like he does, then it would hurt it. But the fact that he actually does give a shit, people go, hey, I give a shit too. I'm like him. I also give a shit, and so that is really the thing that people have attached.
That is extremely rare because either they respect source material until the fans say don't, and then they just bend to whatever the fans do. Like for example, like Jenna Ortega, who plays Wednesday in the Wednesday show. For season 2, she is a producer, and she wants to respect the source material. And a bunch of people on like Twitter and stuff like that are like shipping her and her friend in the show as a couple. And then I think she said somewhere like, "No, we're not doing that. That's not like a romance plot is not something that Wednesday would do." And people got mad over that. And that's why some people respect her because she wants to stay true to the source material as they can.
I love how that's just a thing in fandom as well. Do two people exist? Let's make a gay of them. That will work.
Are we allowed to talk about Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane also?
Oh, I think she's hot.
Are we going to bring up her tits again?
Well, we could. I don't think she's hot enough to play Lois Lane. I'm sorry. Like
hold on. Let me send a picture in the chat.
That's fine. I don't care. I don't care if you think I'm a misogynist as long as you think I'm thin.
His wife's just hiding behind him right now.
I haven't actually seen her. What's her last name? Brosnahan.
She's in.
Can you also see how
Mrs. Maisel.
That's why.
Yeah, she's a good actress. I have nothing like. She probably was the best actress out of the bunch. But every time I think of Lois Lane, they always pick a woman in these movies that is not, in my opinion, hot. Like Amy Adams, don't get me wrong, she has a great rack and she's a good actress, but she's not hot. And I just go, I need
hot,
like
dude.
Stop that. She's not that hot.
Gingers aren't that hot.
But I just go, can't we pick a really, really hot chick that you're all like that way all the feminists are like, yeah, she's hot, but she's really smart too, and all us guys are like, yeah, let me see her boobs and everything. So I don't know. When they put up the lineup, I was like, she's the least hottest one in my opinion, but she's the best actress.
Hottest?
I think so.
I think she's hotter than the original
Thank
movie.
you, Fiona. I was comparing her to Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah,
she does look very similar in that vein.
She's got a hardcore chin on her. She has a stronger chin than the Superman.
She could be Superman.
It's a long
chase.
If you combined her face length with Hailey Bailey's eye width, you would have Jar Jar Binks.
Okay.
An experiment I like.
Are we seriously acting right now that every dude in this stream, if she walked up to you on the street and was like, "Let's go," you'd be like, "No, thanks."
I never said that.
I'm a married man, bagface.
I think she's hot. I think she can be a good Lois Lane.
I think she's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would rather good acting. I like good acting in my movies.
How dare you? That's not allowed anymore.
I know.
I haven't watched I forget the Miss Maisel. I forget the full title. I haven't watched that, so I don't know how she is as an actress.
She's a good actress. She's very good. Yeah, my wife loves that show. But I don't know. I just go there. I don't know. The other two ladies were hotter, and I go, this was the only hot chicks you could find to play Lois Lane. But,
you're not allowed to cast attractive women in movies anymore. Bro.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
That's
She
true.
is attractive. What are we doing? What are you doing? This is insane.
Bro,
This
I
is
did
insane.
actually after like because I didn't know what she looked like, so I like pulled her up. So there is definitely like every other picture is like she's hot in this picture, not so hot in this picture. It's really weird.
But Vex
She-
last night on
listen.
Mr. Brown brought up her breasts, and I've seen her breasts, so I'm all like, all right, never mind. She's hot now because they're very nice. They are, they are very nice. You have no, and her nipples are.
Is
nice.
she the one that like famous clip like she's like on stage like as like a comedian and just like randomly takes
Yeah.
off, like, okay, yeah, I know.
Yeah, except the comedian parts in that show, I was like, she's not a funny comedian. I'm not laughing once.
Well,
at
that's
this.
why she had to take her top off because she was
Maybe.
bombing on the stage.
Maybe, but yeah, no.
So the chesticles do it for you.
Yeah, they're very nice. They're very
Alright.
nice. They're like they're perfect. They're perfectly placed. Very good. Very good.
Very
But,
nice, very nice.
But I'm not gonna lie. I am looking forward to this movie. I like James Gunn. I like his writing, and his directing and all that nonsense. So we'll see. But
Jesus.
I'm
No, you said that comment for Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Oh, okay.
Bobs
a
are
photo that-
overrated. There we go.
My dad is called Bob, so I can't agree. But otherwise, most Bobs are indeed overrated.
Also, Terry Hatcher, somebody mentioned Terry Hatcher is awesome. I love her as Lois Lane. She was great. Oh, you stopped that, Vex. She was awesome.
She's not hot. I'm sorry, she's not hot.
I know. We had this discussion last night. I think she's super hot.
I wasn't invited for that discussion.
Aw, boo.
I don't know if I'm more scared about James Gunn's humor being in a Superman movie.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard to put in because his I don't know if it's going to fit well.
I don't think it will. No.
But I don't know if I can name another set of directors or director that could do the comedy for that type.
Who's the guy that did Scott Pilgrim? Edgar Wright?
Right?
Is that his
Yeah.
name? He would be good for that kind of comedy.
Do you
that you're
think
talking
James?
about.
Do you think James Gunn could write this as not a comedy? Just write
No.
it as
He
a.
could.
No,
I
it's
don't
nice.
think James Gunn knows how to do that.
I think
His whole filmography is basically just like black comedies.
Gotcha.
What is the money as well that you'll get some sort of fight scene in which Bruce Springsteen is playing in the background because that's another big James Gunnism. Really attached to his old Sony Walkman, and so of course we have a soundtrack all the way through.
I think this movie will be fine, but
I think this movie's gonna.
We just have to
fucking
see
murder.
something on film at this point. Everybody's talking. I have to see a trailer. I know you can't tell everything off a trailer, but at this point, everybody's just so like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna look like? What are these characters gonna look like in their costumes? Let's just see what happens. I was the first one. I was like, oh god, I don't know if I like this casting. I don't like, but even I turned around after that and I was like, okay, let me give it a shot because I've been wrong before.
I mean,
When is this one due out? Out of
literally
interest?
2025.
Is that long enough for people to get over the stench of everything that's happened until this point, or is
Well,
it
that's if it stops, but the
we've
stench
got-
continues.
we
still have Blue Beetle.
Still have Aquaman, right?
Aquaman.
Coming out.
Aquaman 2.
You have Aquaman and Blue Beetle coming out, so no.
We'll
So
have a
it'll
full
never-
year though. There'll be a
When is
full
Brave
year
and
of
the
no
Bold?
DC.
There will be a full year.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but like around 2016-17, because DC was trying to actually do something with their movies, Kevin Feige said something like, there's no real competition between DC and Marvel when their movies do well, we do well, and vice versa, because it's good for the genre as a whole. Well, that applies when it's doing poorly too.
Right.
So all these Marvel movies that come out that are probably going to suck complete ass is going to negatively impact DC movies because people are going to get sick and tired more and more of all this shit.
I'd agree if Guardians 3 didn't do so well.
But it didn't do that well.
It
It's like
didn't.
$850 million, is it not?
Yeah, and didn't it do on par with the other Guardians of the Galaxy movies?
I'm on it.
Yeah, that came out like 7 years ago.
compared to everything that's been coming out and how like
it was
how
brought down,
bad the scene's
definitely.
been, I mean, this movie's done well considering the environment around it.
Well, we considered Black Panther 2 underperforming, but we somehow consider Guardians not underperforming, even though it made less money.
I think it's not the
where's this
underperforming.
logic?
It's more the like it in a sea of shitty superhero content, it still made money. And to me, like, and I think it's word of mouth.
It's a better
more.
movie. undoubtedly than the majority of MC movies that have come out recently, but that is not to somehow like twist the box office around. Like,
so Guardians definitely has diminishing returns as it goes along. So the budget was well, it's weird because Guardians 1 has 2 budgets, has the net budget, and the other ones do not have the gross and net budget. But the amount it made was less than the previous one at a higher budget. So there definitely has been diminishing returns.
Right, and that was like that came out in 2017, right? So 6 years ago.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean,
it's diminishing standards as well, because it used to be the case that everyone was sitting there saying, "Oh, will this superhero film make $1 billion?" And now it's, "Oh, will this superhero film make money?" And that's that's I think a sign of diminishing returns as well.
Right. So this movie essentially broke even. Like, yeah.
Can you really say that Guardians was good given what everything else has been lately? Like, that's literally saying like, oh, here's a solid turd in a pool of diarrhea.
Right. Yeah.
Like, if Guardians,
like, that's a healthy one.
Right. Like, if Guardians 3 came out 7-8 years ago, we would actually say it were bad compared to everything else that were coming out.
I'm sorry. Have you watched the majority of the movies in the MCU? They're fucking garbage. Most of them are garbage.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But to say
This
Guardians
movie
is good, that's a really big overstatement.
I think he's also smart enough to understand that and take the budget. He's not like, hey, can you hand me $250 to do this Superman, like, first Superman movie? I think he's smart enough to know like he has to turn a profit, so he's shooting for like 125 to 150 million.
One thing about James Gunn that he's kind of kept along the way is he's always been good at taking like smaller properties and making make sense. So that's one thing that worries me about with Superman, because it's the biggest property they have. That and Batman.
Batman is bigger than Superman.
I mean, they go back and forth historically.
Can you like tell me when the last time a Superman movie cracked $1 billion?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just talking about as
a mainstrein thing. I think
as a mainstream character known. That's what I was. I wasn't necessarily talking about.
Oh yeah, as far as like
so they're 1A and 1B when it comes to that. But one thing I will say about James Gunn is he does know how to work within smaller budgets. He did it for the majority of the beginning of his career. He was one of the Tromo guys, so the Tromaville guys. So he knows how to work with what he's given. So that's
I don't know if anybody watched the interview that he did with the dude who used to play Lex. I can't remember his name right now.
Michael.
He did like an hour-long interview. And the thing that really gave me hope is he was talking about how, like, for the Guardians movies, he actually understands like the props department needs to understand what the scripting is doing, and they need to understand what the set design is doing, and all these things need to be cohesive. And like he has the same team moving from Guardians to Superman. So to like know that he actually takes into account like his his costume design is actually tied in with his set design, and it's tied in with the people that are like writing the script. They all are communicating and understanding. So it gives me a little faith. He's actually I don't know. He puts an effort. He's not just. It doesn't feel like he's there for a paycheck.
I'm a little surprised that DC is giving him the ability to like work within that too. I mean, I don't know exactly what he's doing to the costume to make it work with things, but like usually they're very, very protective of Superman's costume. Like even within their own produced things, like their cartoons, like they didn't historically, like in Justice League, they wanted to use like the white and black costume for a while, and they were like, no, absolutely not, can't do it. You're not allowed to touch Superman's costume, Batman's costume, Wonder Woman. The Trinity cannot be like altered usually. So the fact that they're actually putting that faith in him is that shows a lot.
Well, they're already putting a lot of faith in him just by being a studio head, anyways. Because I've said this a billion times before. What has James Gunn proved to make him a head of a major studio? What has he done?
He can make C-list characters pop off the screen.
Yes.
That's about it,
Well, there you go. Here's the keys to my studio. Go make a movie. It just doesn't make sense.
I think it makes sense when you put him in the role of the creative head of the studio, because he's not like the financial head. That's whatever the other dude's name is. I can't remember who his buddy is.
Peter Safran.
Yeah, but when you have Safran as the guy who's actually making those decisions and like the decisions that you'd want a studio head to make, and then you have James Gunn's essentially a Feige at DC. Like it's not like we think that Feige's like, I guess he's the head of Marvel, but he's not making the financial decisions like as much as other producers and things are.
But do you think that his track record of 4 or 5 films says you can run a studio?
No. I think like directively, like creatively, directively, I think he's probably the best person in Hollywood to be able to like run an entire, because it's like you're running an entire ship of multiple movies and making sure they all interweave properly and like having story arcs for multiple things. I feel like there's not a lot of people in Hollywood that know the actual like content. Like they don't know the characters, they don't know the comics.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to hire someone, you're gonna have to give them a fucking pile of character notes and be like, all right, go through all this shit, learn who these people are, and then we're gonna write a story out for the next 10 years. I don't think there's a lot of people that could do that feasibly.
Yeah, and the things that he wants to do, I heard that he wants to wrap up this first part that he does, that it's going to be such a small part from the comic books that most people won't even know what he's talking about. And what he wants to do with the Superman movie, I don't want to tell you because I don't want to give it away, but people are saying
Just
that
do
wants...
it. Just do it.
Okay, you know how he's going to have the Authority. He's going to have the Authority movie. Apparently, that's his Superman's bad guy. Like they're going to be the superheroes of this universe, and then Superman comes in. Like he's not the first superhero in this universe. And I'm all like, the Authority, if you ever read those comic books, it's like they're so I don't know. I don't know how he's gonna make it work. And it's like nobody cares about the Authority. I mean, those comic books are pretty good, but nobody cares. And I'm just like, I don't understand how he's gonna make the people that don't read those comic books like care at all.
Isn't the Authority one of the things that he's using for one of those shows he pitched a few months back as well?
It's a cartoon, isn't it?
No, that's the monster one. What's that called?
Gotcha.
Creature Commandos.
Creature Commandos.
Yeah,
Thank
there we
you.
go.
Yeah.
Which actually, hold on.
Yeah. So which?
Oh boy.
Yeah. Look at that.
Oh, look at that.
Would you look at that? Nice. I've never read those before.
I think
but,
I think in terms of shoving Superman into an already established universe, in terms of like,
I hadn't done that
there's
gag in a while.
There's already superheroes that exist. I think it's the best way just to be like, boom, we have superheroes in this universe now, and just skip all of the development. I don't want to see it. Invincible did it, and I'm like, all right, we're in this place. This place exists. There's a bunch of superheroes. We're good.
The only
Like,
problem
I don't want
with that,
all this. I don't want all this exposition.
I would agree with you on that.
the only problem with that is that Blue Beetle is meant to start off his whole universe.
Yeah, that I don't understand why.
I think
he would
it's,
say that.
I think it's meant to be in. It's not going to start. I don't
No,
think
no,
there'll be
you-
any.
No, well, it
connective tissue.
effectively has to start because it's
Well, I
already
thought it was
coming
Yeah.
out.
the character itself is going to be canon, but the story isn't. Like the movie isn't. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I would not have done that.
I feel like studio wise, he probably looked at the movie and it probably, because it was supposed to be HBO Max, they probably don't have any cameos. They probably only mention people in passing like they do in the trailer. And he was probably like, yeah, I could just put this character into my new universe because it literally won't affect anything. Like they could do anything in this movie and it's not gonna have any effect on anything that he's doing. So it was probably a given.
Well, one of the points I brought up, I think it was on a previous episode of BSUP, is that Blue Beetle is actually in one of the versions he starts the Justice League, so that could be the
Well,
reason for wanting.
That's the Ted Cord version, though. So
Well, no, I know they're mixing everything, right? But that's what I'm just yeah.
That would suck.
Well, Blue Beetle's like especially like a weird one because it's not even like originally a DC character. It was like one that was purchased later.
Really?
So it's like it's weird that's like.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the Authority. They were a purchased character. They bought them. So I don't know. It's really weird. I don't think this was the best choice in terms of characters to pick. But at the same time, I do like James Gunn. So we'll see.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I know a plot leak you're referencing, and that shit was not real. There's no way that was real. It was the worst thing I've ever read in my life.
No.
So 2
It's
questions.
gonna be real.
Has Gunn said why he chose Blue Beetle specifically?
Probably just because it exists.
He didn't
probably-
choose. It was already
being made.
Right.
Okay,
It's
so
probably
that's
like
my-
studio
sorry, okay.
demand.
Yeah,
Like,
it
That
okay,
was
this
my
movie's
second
gonna
question: is
bomb.
who's behind it that put him in charge of it? But that answers
Yeah.
my question then.
Mhm.
I will say
Old
this about
Authority.
the casting though. I will not like say like terrible casting before the like the movie comes out. Ever since The Dark Knight came out, because that was like literally everybody saying that Heath Ledger was going to be a terrible Joker, and now like for years people have been saying how he's the best. So I never I always let it play out first, and then if it turns out it was a bad casting, it's like, well, okay, it was, but I don't.
So it's interesting that everyone thought that he was going to be bad casting, because literally like the 3-4 years leading up to that Joker role, he was doing basically nothing but gritty dramas.
I remember thinking he was bad casting too, though. Especially the first teaser image of him with the makeup on was not a good teaser image, and I was just like, "Oh my fucking god, what are they doing?" Sure.
Yeah.
And then they released the trailer, and it was unbelievable. So,
it's peak. It's peak. And it was literally like. Not like those movies were bad by any means, but he definitely elevated that material.
Oh yeah,
I would agree with that.
Yeah. His grittiest role was Brokeback Mountain, absolutely, before Joker.
That was
no lube, just pure grit.
Yeah, it was a real.
I mean, he went in dry on that role.
Yeah,
just really rammed it in.
One.
Drove it home.
But yeah, no, I was one of the detractors as well. I just like talking shit on casting because they deserve it, and iron sharpens iron. Pump out a good role, bring it. You know, I'm not terribly against the casting of Superman and Lois, but I also want to see a good Superman and Lois. If James Gunn wants to fire Henry Cavill and replace him with a Henry Cavill lookalike, well, hell, that's his prerogative. But let's just have a good Superman movie. I would like to see what James Gunn is willing to churn out.
Gandolfini, I think.
Almost did.
Oh, he would be a perfect Superman.
Yeah, he would have been a perfect Superman.
Yeah. It's the Gubble.
Yeah,
it's the multiverse, baby.
Yeah, Danny DeVito as Batman. It would have worked. But no, I just want to see a good Superman finally, and so hopefully James Gunn pulls that out.
Question. Oh, not question, but someone had said that for Lex Luthor, apparently both the Skarsgård brothers are in the running for that.
That was me.
Okay, thoughts?
Have you guys seen the?
Yeah.
Have you seen the last season of Succession?
Yes.
Okay, Alexander Skarsgård pretty much plays Lex Luthor, and he's fucking perfect. Like, insanely
Is that the guy
perfect.
Is that the guy from John Wick 4? I can't remember.
No, that's Bill Skarsgård.
That's
the other one.
That's the other one. Yeah. No, he's in True Blood as Eric Northman.
Yeah. He was a Northman.
Yeah.
And Northman, yes.
I know he's Pennywise.
It would be that's his younger brother.
There's too many Skarsgårds.
That's his younger brother. Oh
they
my
need
god!
They need to get rid of some of them.
Yeah,
just do one of the Skarsgårds. I don't care.
They just need to get rid of like two of
for the role of
Skarsgård.
Lex Luthor. If you really want to, have a proper tough casting, is that he has to kill his brother in order to get the role. That would make
There you go.
Isn't there like two other Skarsgård brothers?
Yeah,
there's
actors.
four.
Yeah, see, they should all be in the running. I'd love to see
There's
that.
the dad.
That movie
And then
sucked
there's
though.
the
Infinity Pool sucked. It was such a disappointment.
It
Did
was
it really? I really want to see that.
I
movie.
was so excited for it. I saw it in the theater, and I was like, "What the fuck is going
Yeah,
on?"
it wasn't
The name was
good.
This
dumb.
movie
I've never
so
even
bad.
heard of it.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
It had Mia Goth in it too.
It did. I mean,
and I was just
What a
so
waste.
excited. Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah, like after watching Succession, I feel like Alexander Skarsgård to be in he has so much like nuance and depth to his character in that show, and like he goes from like a bumbling tech bro to like menacing. You're like, oh shit, oh shit.
He was a Redditor.
Yeah, he was really good. But here's the question though: do they shave his head bald, or do they let him keep his hair?
No, shave his
head.
You gotta go. No, you gotta go. If you're Lex Luthor, you gotta go bald. That should be in the contract.
Yeah.
I also feel like it'd be kind of
Copa
tight to
Cotania should
see
be.
like
Superman
going up against a dude who's not like a fucking twig. It's not like anyone could actually fight Superman, but it'd be nice to have someone who's like also physically imposing in a certain way.
Well, that's one of the things is actually Lex Luthor always works out in like this weird, like warped attempt to try and attain Superman's strength, and he never can achieve it. Yeah. But he is actually in like ridiculous shape all the time.
What was the guy who played Superman in the original?
Gene Hackman.
Yeah, he's not a very threatening looking person.
Right.
Yeah, that's part of Lex Luthor as a character is that he is delusional to the point where he believes he can actually match.
You don't understand though.
Like that's the thing is like
painting should be upside down. Because demons come from the sky.
Demons come from the sky.
Oh my god.
He basically played Mark Zuckerberg that he played in Social Network.
Yeah, Sucker Lex.
Sucker Lex.
Autism Lex.
my point was lost, so it's fine. It's super chat. This is like,
Well, that was a
speaking
stream
of-
killer.
He
Wait,
said
what-
super chat. I assume we were going.
oh,
to
I
super
was
chat.
saying something and then there was something about Jesse Eisenberg, and I was like just completely derailed the whole thing.
Yes, Jesse Asperger's.
As Snyder
Yes.
movies will do.
Jesse Asperger's.
Real.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
Word.
I was
I've
joking
been-
about going to super chats, but apparently that's what
No,
we're doing
I have
now.
been rocking a fucking migraine for like an hour. So, oh my god.
That explains why you're rubbing your head. I could see that you looked a little.
Well, and
uncomfortable
also I
there.
was just like, oh, I think I was a little impatient a couple times. I apologize. Like, legitimately fucking
You're
How
good.
dare
head
you
is
be
throbbing
cynical.
right now.
How dare you talk? Shut up.
Well,
This is our stream now. All six,
take it
7
over.
of us.
Take
Yeah.
it
Well,
over.
as we
Well,
are
I mean-
coming
I
up to
mean-
the 3-hour mark, is it a good idea for Dark Hour to finish his point and then we go on to super chats?
I mean, my point
I-
was basically that I essentially had finished it. It was just that Lex Luthor needs to. That's like the way it has to be personified is somebody who can play someone who has like that billionaire delusion of like I can do anything because I am the greatest, and that necessarily hasn't been captured yet. There's actually been several good versions of Superman, but there's really hasn't been that many great versions of Lex Luthor. I would say that, yeah, like that's really the casting that I'm interested in seeing is where they go with that.
Yeah. You didn't like Jesse Asperger's?
No. I saw a picture. Somebody took. What the hell is his name? The guy he was in Titanic. He was the villain in Titanic. I can't remember his name all of a sudden.
Billy
Zane.
Zane.
Zane, that's it.
Yeah.
There's a
Billy
villain
Zane.
in Titanic.
Put a sock in it, Zane.
Yeah,
Zane? He was the
him-shaped
iceberg.
bald, and he was, and they
I
had
didn't actually watch the Titanic.
it was like a
There's a villain in
it was like a
Titanic.
People magazine or like a Time magazine article mock-up of him as Lex Luthor, and it was like, do we actually really need Superman? I was like, he looks perfect for it, but I don't know if they're gonna go with that route because he's on the older side.
Yeah.
Dark Hour, you look like you're gonna go on a lake after this and shoot rockets off.
I mean, the shirt literally
Hey,
has
it's-
like the most ridiculous thing on it ever. So.
I live near the fairgrounds, and they're gonna shoot fireworks here within.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I
be
don't know,
shocked if
probably
some
soon.
start here soon too.
You're about to
Yeah.
hear explosions. Don't worry, it's just America.
It's just the way
once
we are over
once
here,
per
baby.
year, we declare war on the sky. So
Yeah.
Amen, brother.
Hell yeah,
I love how Platoon has yet to point out, say anything about my huge Little Platoon picture up here.
I hadn't actually spotted it. Sorry, no, because I've got you on a tiny little screen. Where are you?
It was
It's
just
the
me
best
making
Photoshop
fun of the
Oh, I
fact you were
see.
literally just the Continental Congress, and I decided since you're the British representative, let's
Well, look,
put it-
you all think that you won, but I know the date of our return, so someone
Do you have the dial of death?
We lost.
Yeah, he's got the die. Yeah, he's gonna come back and
They ended up sneaking British people into Indiana Jones. I'm pretty sure we lost
You'll
on
be
that one.
sitting there shooting your stupid little rockets at the sky, and then secretly, like the scrolls, we're actually already there. Why do you think you keep electing absolute buffoons who can't run the country?
I knew Platoon was a lizard person.
As opposed to the geniuses that are elected in the UK.
No, this is just a front. Those people
Coming
don't
from a
actually rule
Canadian.
the country. Don't be silly. This is
Hey.
all part of an Empire 2.0 is beyond your wildest comprehension.
Empire
We know-
2.0.
We never left. You just think we did.
Listen,
they keep sending they keep sending over the worst versions of British people. That first though, that's
so true.
the first line of defense or the first line of assault, I guess, is Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
It's
Yeah,
all
we-
part of demoralization. It's nothing the Soviets weren't doing. But no, it'll be like that War of the Worlds remake when they go over, the lightning strikes the floor, and then they say, "But no, wait a minute, that didn't come down from the sky. It's been here all along." And then out of the floor comes giant Union
Robot.
Jack adorned monarchist tripods.
Except it's just
and
a
we take
cardboard
you back.
cutout of Platoon.
Oh man, that was actually well put together. Did you have that like scripted ahead of time? Because that was
No, he
He
just
does
knows
it
what's
every
going on.
4th of July.
Yeah, he just waits for this time of year.
actually. I had a
Favorite
question, Platoon. I had a question. I thought there was gonna be more British people, but I guess you're the only one who can answer this. Do you guys have the same pumpkin spice problem that we have in this country? Because I just got an advertisement that's coming back at the beginning of August.
I don't
I'm
have
like-
a clue what's pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice is like it's like
They
pumpkin
only know
flavored.
tea. Doc Howard, do you not
Pump-
know
it's
this?
like
If the
anything
word
pumpkin.
spice is in the title, then you're asking a British person what it is. Then
You wouldn't know.
So pumpkin spice is like, anything pumpkin flavored coffee or like stuff like that, and it's slowly, so it used to just be an October thing, then it became a September thing, now it's made its way into August, and I'm wondering when it's going to stop.
Never.
And I was wondering if England has the same problem.
No,
But
they
apparently
have,
you do
white
not.
they
girl
have
stuff.
beans and sausage and chips.
Beans.
Bangers
Yes.
and mash.
Beans on toast.
And beans on toast. Yes.
Beans on toast.
They have Marmite. Marmite's pretty solid.
Marmite is amazing. Yes.
Yeah, there
And
you
beans
go.
on toast is good. I love beans on toast.
Beans on
Yeah.
toast is
Yeah,
great.
beans on
Same
toast
with-
sounds so spicy.
Same with the bangers and mash.
Are you guys
There you
British?
go.
What's
My
going on?
comment
Happens.
just yielded you guys $2 more.
Okay, well,
I'm very happy about
bangers,
that.
bangers and mash is pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay,
See?
yeah.
Feeling
Just
really
remember that-
exotic, we will splash a bit of Worcestershire sauce on our beans and toast, just to give it that slightly edgy
Whoa.
flavor.
Slow down.
Nice.
Coming
guys
from the
are
country that
organically
will
great.
literally deep fry ice cream, and you're mocking British people's food.
Shit,
We do
yeah,
anything. You know
ice
why?
cream is fantastic. Ice cream is
British
legit.
people mock their own food.
We deep fry anything because we have the freedom to choose to do it.
Thank you. We won that.
Amen.
And it usually makes it really good.
Look,
So what if my
you deep fry
BMI is
anything,
over
it tastes better.
500? This is America.
Who cares if everybody's obese in this country? Fry everything.
Anyway.
Well, okay.
Let's
Super
do it.
chats. All right. First, Waylon.
Bucephalus.
What?
Waylon Bucephalus.
Josephus?
Bucephalus.
Josephus.
Waylon Morpheus for $4.99. Bucket of a Wise Monk's strangely yellow toenails or Indy 5.
Toenails.
Those toenails
Yeah,
might have
toenails-
some powers.
Toenails are good. Yeah.
Indy 5
I'm
just for
eating
the
them?
hotsy.
I'm eating. Wait, am I eating it?
Waylon Bucephalus is like he's
I
like
got to eat.
well known for those particular super chats. He loves to give people like impossible choices.
That
So,
is an impossible choice.
Yeah.
You're right.
he does it on open bar, sometimes up to 3 or 4 times per open bar. It's
Oh,
I
amazing.
will leave.
Mr. Talk About It for $4.99. Also, when will Hollywood learn to curb the budgets? People are selective about movies to go to because it's a lot of money to go now. It's not sustainable. No, it's
Yeah.
not.
I mean, yeah, we
Um,
pretty much talked about that.
We were talking about it when I was in the industry in 2010 that these mega budgets couldn't be sustainable, and this is when they were just starting out. And so here we are now. They're about to collapse the industry if they don't change it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty amazing.
Like $20 popcorn isn't helping either, but
Right.
No.
Well, the popcorn, that's why you got to get the largest one. It's just that's how they
It's
work it
literally
out.
like a quarter more for double the amount of popcorn.
Right.
Just
I don't buy
bring your
concessions.
own
I
little
just- I
paper
just
bags and just bring like
smuggle them
3
in.
people and just
Or
like,
just go to Applebee's and eat and then enjoy your movie afterwards.
Yeah.
I'll be
There you
miserable in Applebee's, and then I'll be miserable in the
Some of those
theater.
Exactly.
riblets they do, yeah.
I like the theaters are still empty, even though they are trying just to give them. They literally cannot give the tickets away. It's quite impressive.
Exactly.
Well, you can buy a ticket here for like $15 or pay $25 a month and see a movie every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, how the
They're-
fuck do you even make money off of this?
they don't.
I mean, that's what I just pay the monthly fee. And I go to the movies all the time, but they're typically pretty empty.
So I no longer work for the company that I used to work for, so I can tell you this. I'm not going to tell you the name of it because there are
Say the
some-
name out
No,
there.
okay. I used to work
cancel
for
them.
I used to work for a very large manufacturer of projectors, and they are having a lot of trouble selling projectors nowadays, like for like permanent installations because theaters are not expanding. and so it's becoming a problem very quickly.
Well, COVID had a lot to do with that.
It did,
Yeah.
it did, but there is actually it's a chain reaction for a lot of things too. It's not just the theaters; it's going to work its way out into other portions of the industry as well.
My theater, I'm surprised when there's people in there because the last time it was full was Civil War for me.
Wow.
Wait, even
1864,
like
really? That was
Infinity War.
Yes, the Civil
Wow.
War.
The Civil War.
I don't know why I went to a British accent. That British people weren't even there. Anyway,
That's what you
Actually,
think.
no, they
Yeah.
were. They actually, no, the
That's when
British
they were
were actually
married,
heavily, the British were actually heavily involved in the Civil War. They actually were.
anyway, but yeah, Civil War was the last time that there were people there.
Not Endgame.
Endgame.
Endgame. Endgame. Civil War was the
Top Gun
fullest I've
Maverick.
ever seen it.
Yeah,
Seen it.
Yeah.
I actually didn't.
No way.
go see
Maybe
Top
it's just
Gun
that
Maverick in
particular
theaters.
theater is really strange.
Yeah, my theater is just weird with there were more people
Is that why you go
in
there?
the theater for Indy than there were for like Ant-Man or any other
Wow.
movie that you would assume would do better. I think there were more than there were in No Way Home for me. My theater's
Wow.
just weird. And I'm surprised it has not upgraded its tech since I've been alive. I don't remember ever walking
Is
in
it
and being
still like the old school projectors where they have actual reels, and,
Reels.
the cigarette burns in the reel? And you have to switch it
I
out?
can notice sometimes. I don't know if they might have updated
don't
the
really
projectors,
make-
but their
most-
sound systems are the same. I have a better sound system in my own home than I do.
It's almost
the theater.
impossible for those projectors to still be in, because they don't really make those reels anymore. So
Yeah, they don't
Yeah,
print.
it's-
They don't
it is
print
like
probably
special
film
orders.
anymore.
They do. They are probably digital, but the sound system and stuff they changed their seating,
Oh, wow.
and that's the only upgrade that I've ever seen. And it was like a big moment in the town. They're like, "Hey, the theater got new seats. They're reclinable," and that was
Wow.
that's it. My theater
I actually- when I was-
stays alive.
when I went to go see Indy, my seat wouldn't recline, and the guy came up and was like, "You want me to fix that?" And I was like, "Nah, it's not gonna make a difference. I'm miserable either way."
I will be.
He just looked.
I
He just
must
stared at me. He was
recline.
like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "In all seriousness, I'll just move one seat over. There's nobody here." That's really
Damn.
it's really the first one was a joke. The second one was real. I
A
was
recline is the default seat over there, because in this country, obviously, we are very poor. And so recliners are the ultra sort of special ones that you get. There's only about 5 of them in every screen, and you have to pay extra.
they've
no, it's
become
pretty
the default.
standard here.
Yeah, they're becoming standard here.
There's,
pretty much
um,
right before COVID.
Another American W, by the way.
Common American W.
We're free.
Common
Freedom
American W. We got reclining seats, baby. Amen.
There's reasonable menus too now, and people can have a fucking pizza brought to them
Yes.
by,
Yeah.
by someone
meals.
while
Yeah,
you're
that's
sitting
my-
there in the
crazy.
theater.
And
My
by
local- yeah,
standards
my
of
local
Instant
theater
Pizza,
has-
not so bad.
And
Yeah,
My
alcohol.
local theater has a bar full liquor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, mine
Yep.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mean to brag, but up here in French Canada, they really enjoy the arts. So movie tickets are $12 still.
Yep.
I mean,
IMAX
ours are
IMAX
not
is
really that much
16
more than
bucks.
that.
It's pretty fucking tight.
Oh yeah, well how
That's-
about 25 a month, and I can go 30 times.
Yeah.
My-
Not,
Tickets
to,
are
not to
$5.
brag, but down here in
America.
America, we don't give a shit about the arts.
Here in America, we make fucking money, so charge whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. Capitalism, baby.
We're in
Capitalism,
crippling debt
baby.
at all
Fuck
times.
the arts.
Because freedom, bro.
Sounds
Come
like
on.
Canada's a bunch of fucking brokies.
Not like us. We're just in debt. That's not broke.
Mr. Talk About It for another $4.99. Thank you, sir. See, he's got money bags. He lives in America. Hi, all. Since today is Tom Cruise's birthday, I gotta ask, what is everyone's favorite Tom Cruise stunt? Unsurprisingly, the list is actually long. I would agree.
Yeah.
Might be this new one coming out when he's jumping off a cliff on a bike.
Yeah.
When
Mine
when
is-
he jumped
mine
on
is where
Oprah's couch.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
When he married Nicole Kidman, that was a pretty big stunt. as well.
I was gonna say when he broke his leg. because you could
Yeah,
see
oh,
it
yeah,
in the
that
movie.
Oh,
that
yeah.
That shit's brutal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he finalized the run too, like on a broken tibia.
The
Yeah.
adrenaline must have been insane.
Didn't
And
he
then
hang
he
off the
collapsed right after he was outside of he knew where the camera range was, and once he got past it, he collapsed. It was
Wait,
that was
which
the
movie
most
was that in?
It was one
The
of the
last
Mission
one.
Impossible.
Fallout?
It was the
mission.
last
What we're
one.
gonna
Yeah.
review.
Yeah.
So he went to
Which
go do the.
scene?
He does
went
a
to go
roof
do
jump.
jump.
He's
Jumping on
from
rooftops, chasing Cavill.
rooftops, yeah.
And
Oh.
one of the takes he misjumped and his
You could see
foot
it.
caught.
It's
Oh,
the
yeah,
take they
I saw
use. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And he got up, ran on the broken tibia, and the most professional thing possible. I don't know how he knew exactly where he could fall, but if you watch the non-cat, the someone recording the whole thing
Behind the scenes.
the behind the scenes, yeah, that's the word. Sorry, thank you. But he collapses right outside of the range of the camera. He knew exactly where that inch line was. It was insane.
Wasn't he hanging off the side of an airplane on one of the Mission Impossible?
same one.
movies?
Yeah.
Was it the same
Honestly,
one?
it's probably easier for us to list our least favorite Tom Cruise
That-
stunt. They're all pretty
that-
good.
Yeah.
That stunt is probably the only one he said that scared the shit out of him. Actually, the one
The
where he,
airplane one.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, I can see
because
why.
He's fucking
if you let
human.
go,
Is he?
goodbye. All
They had him strapped in. They had him
He was
strapped in.
harnessed in. Yeah,
Oh, they
Yeah, he
did?
was harnessed in there.
it's pretty.
But
impressive.
he said he'll never do something like that again. And I'm like, okay, dude. And then he goes out and wing walks in this one, I believe.
He jumps off a fucking
That's
Jesus.
just casual.
on a bike. Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Casual cruise.
There you go.
Does someone else want to take one?
I'll take this one because
Okay.
actually I have to do a shout out for Tyler Wolf. He helped me a lot on my video that I just released. And
Okay.
anybody wants, that's actually his channel name. So anybody wants to give him a shot. So Tyler Wolf for $5 Canadian. Funny how Kathleen Kennedy production has sympathy for the devil as her I mean the movie's theme song. So that the way that was structured with that I was weird. But yeah, they overused the shit out of that song.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Da-da-da-da.
Yeah, whenever I'm like, that's really stupid. What just happened? It would just kick in at the right moment. I'm like, all right.
Actually, Andrew, why don't you take one?
Huh? All right.
All right.
Sarcasm activated. They should do. Wait, what did I just say? I'm sorry, I can't read.
You're film school, man. That's film school.
They should get Alden
No one
Aaron
can pronounce
Reich.
this guy's name.
And
Alden
Aaron
Ehrenreich.
Aaron Reich to play a young Indy. They bring in someone like Emilia Clarke. There is no way that film flops, right? I can't read.
Except that it did.
I'm glad that I wasn't the only one who screwed up a super chat.
Oh, when I can't pronounce the name, I normally pass it
Listen,
off.
you
So
should
just
see
a hint.
the profits of me trying to read my
Be
script.
prepared.
So here you go, Vex.
Waylon Bocephus for $1.99. Thank you, Waylon. Tug McGroin or Jackinov?
Backing off.
I'm totally tugging McGroin.
Yeah, I'm
Tugging
tugging
my
my
groin.
groin.
Tugging.
Jacking
Yeah.
off. Come on.
Yagu PL, a new channel member. Welcome. Thank you.
Nice.
And who wants the next one? Copa. You get next
Yeah. Maybe the real prostate exam was the friends we made along the way.
This isn't a super chat, but I highlighted it. I get this comment a lot in my on my videos.
Yup.
Yeah. I don't understand that shit.
What?
I've been in theaters where at the end everybody gives it a standing ovation. I've been in that.
I get I
it's
get
like-
unreasonably upset to the point where I think I ruined several relationships over the years because I get mad when I'm just start yelling. I'm like, they're not here. You're
Yeah,
they're
that
not in the
happens so
room. You're not
weird.
cheering for anybody.
Yeah, it's weird.
I actually like when cinemas do that. It just
Yeah,
feels
I
like
think
everyone.
it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cute little thing.
I feel
Though
it's
to-
like
It's a participatory thing, man. It's like
doing the wave at a baseball game. There you go.
yeah, it's like
you know?
watching a sporting event. Like
No,
the
the
people on the
wave at a
field don't give
baseball
a
game
fuck
is
about
evil.
you.
it's definitely a white people thing. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
But I will say that the
okay.
Indiana Jones theater for me, that's the first
classic
theater in a long
play
time
plan.
that didn't have applause.
Well, the
I
Flash
don't.
didn't happen either.
I don't think it had consciousness for mine. I don't. I got up and walked out, and I don't think anybody else got up. I think they were all just asleep.
Top Gun
like,
Maverick.
what do you when people say these comments? Like, what do you guys do when you saw comedies in the theater? You like fucking hold it in, like.
Yes, that's what you're supposed to do.
Jesus.
We don't.
No
do
wonder you
applause
don't
in this
fucking put
country.
spice on your food. You're so boring.
No, emotion is a sign of weakness. We don't do that kind of
No,
thing.
that's for Russians, not you guys.
I remember that happened in Civil War. People were hype when that movie ended.
Yeah. Bagface, you want to read Hostman's?
Yeah, Hostman, Socrates. Maybe the real prostate exam was the friends we made along the way.
Oh,
just read
sorry.
that.
I had pulled up the other comment.
Jesus.
My bad.
Yeah, we literally.
Hey, you gotta pay more money. We just
Yeah,
read it
just-
off
just
twice.
do
Yeah, we
another
read
one.
it off
$5 again. Pay up, brother.
This is America, dude.
Yeah, capitalism, baby.
I can do this one again if you want.
Yeah, sure. Go.
Julia Rangel. Can we hope this is the end for Turkey Neck, KK?
I think she has an alligator neck, bro.
Oh man.
Let me search
She
your neck.
has.
I don't have an opinion on this.
I
Well,
feel
on
like
Kathleen Kennedy's neck.
I've
she's
never-
checked
I've
off all
never
her
looked at
quests,
it.
you know?
Don't
She's
worry,
done all her
Cynic
dailies
has-
and shit. She's destroyed
Well, now
everyone.
she's gonna level up because now instead of taking 3 cocks, she can take 4 cocks in her mouth. So we'll see what happens.
God damn. That's
It's
how
just repeating the
stressed
joke I
out,
did in Browns last night. I mean, she sucked so much dick it has turned her neck into a scrotum. But I do think that she will be allowed to see out the end of her contract, and then she will be quietly taken out of the back and shot. But they'll present it as this is just the natural expiration of her time on Earth, as opposed to we've shot her in the
took care of
face
it.
because she's ruined our entire studio.
It was a great investment.
Oh god. Matt Cat, you want to read Fiona?
Yeah, Fiona M for $2. Indiana Jones and Go Malone.
Go Malone.
Go Malone.
He actually has the first scene when he. I don't want to go back over all that shit again, but it's the first thing we hear him say in the present day or the 69 timeline is turn it down.
Yes.
Oh, for
During the
That's why I
day.
said it's like, oh, old
Wow.
man does old man
No,
things.
okay,
Isn't that funny?
granted, who the hell, like, just starts blasting music at like 7:30 in the morning?
Dude, it's not even
Apartment
7:30 in the morning. It was like 9 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning. First of
Yeah.
all,
It
get
was like
your
lunch.
ass out of the chair,
For sure.
Indy. You old bastard.
Yeah, what 80-year-old sleeps till 8 in the morning?
Yes, son of a bitch. You should be out there the early bird special getting pancakes.
Pancakes
true,
4
yeah.
a.m.
You should be taking
Well,
a
yeah,
walk at
and
like 3:30 in the morning. Like,
he's-
time, rise and grind, brother.
He's,
Oh my
like,
god.
upset at them.
I'm gonna be a
for-
terrible old person because I plan to sleep all the time when I'm old, like just all the time. I'm not being one of those people who goes to an early bird special or a late anything. I'm just sleeping all the time.
So it's weird. He was upset at them for partying, and he's like a drunk. Like, no,
Yeah.
like, dude, they probably just thought you were passed.
He didn't
out.
even
He's
know
mad
he
because he
landed on
wasn't
the moon.
invited.
So
He was up
He has
crying
no
about his wife till 4 in the morning.
Jesus.
He's sitting in the chair wondering, how do I bring my dead son back? And never does it when he gets the chance to.
If only I could do this one thing. Anyway,
Copa, you want to
My
read this
wife.
one? Or Cannoli? No, Cannoli. You
Oh,
did one.
No,
Cannoli.
Jonathan Frost. Ford is a curmudgeon and always has been a sellout of Chevy Chase proportions. It's always been about the money. Wow.
I mean,
That's-
I
that's
guess.
Chevy
Basically
Chase,
not a lie.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
Not a lie.
Oh, thank you, Jonathan. Marilla Cuthbert, 20.
Cuthbert.
Is it Cuthbert?
It's
Cuthbert.
Cuthbert,
Sure,
but
yeah.
Maria?
Cuthbert.
I think it's Maria.
I could say
Marilla.
Maria,
Marilla.
Well, it's for $10, and you're all on the same page for this topic, Indiana Jones, but reading separate paragraphs. Well, it's probably what happens when 9 people are on a stream.
I don't know if we're
It's
all. I don't know if we're all on the same page because I feel like me and Cynic hate Indiana Jones in general. So it's like
Disgraceful.
You're allowed- you should
You know
be
what?
ejected from the panel. but
Andrew, we gotta have a chat, man.
One is running the show, so
Yeah.
I'm running the show. It's on my channel today, so Andrew's staying.
yay.
Who hurt both of you? My goodness.
Yeah, God.
Indiana Jones when he couldn't act.
Platoon,
Is that your elitist community college opinion there,
Film school.
Andrew?
Yes.
Oh shit.
Nikki read a hand for £5. Indy 5 is the equivalent of Biden falling up the stairs.
I was thinking about that a lot during the ad. I
Yeah.
was just like, man, if they put Joe Biden in here, it'd be the exact same movie. Like nothing would change.
That'd be a bit more falling, but
Where's my ice cream?
Here's
Piercer,
He's
take my
sniffing
heart.
Phoebe
No,
Waller's hair.
oh, so Indy's son died of a drug overdose then.
Ooh, ooh.
They get the laptop.
And he would be
After-
constantly sniffing her hair.
Right. And after drugging up his 12-year-old niece with cocaine as well.
Oh.
So.
God damn.
And he has a laptop.
And he's like,
And he has a I love it. And he has a laptop. Sure.
And he
But
has
again, it's all part of the plan.
Indiana Jones in the laptop of conspiracy or something. I don't know.
The laptop
Chinese
that doesn't
spies,
exist.
bro. Dark Hour, you want to read RRs?
Sure. RRTNZ for 10 New Zealand dollars. Hail Cynic and no, he didn't say Platoon, just Hail Cynic and Co. Try this. There are only 3 Indiana Jones films. Have to say it feels amazing. As far as an enjoyable consensual delusions go, it's up there with American Democracy. Happy 4th of July.
I said there's only one Indiana Jones movie, and then I'm happy.
I was getting ahead of myself with the reading and trying not to laugh at it before. I was like,
The election was stolen.
True. Amen.
True.
Oh man, there's like 4th of July parade, and I drove past where like they're parking all of the like the
floats.
the like cars and stuff, the floats. Yeah, like there's like 15 Trump ones, and that's just like, all right, brother. It's very funny.
Actually, Andrew, you want to read this one?
It says Vex. Vex should read it.
Oh, Vex. Oh, it's Vex's. Yeah, go ahead. Vex, you do it.
Jonathan Frost for $5. Thank you. Vex, get your cat to look at the truck. Maybe the cat's a mechanic as well as an HVAC specialist.
It's probably forklift certified.
Well, this is referencing a tweet I put out last week. That's all. In which one of my cats actually took the vent out of the floor and began investigating. So
That was great.
yeah. While I was
He's
trying to watch
definitely
Indiana
forklift
Jones.
certified.
Andrew, now it's your turn.
Ooh, I'm
Okay, or
lagging.
not.
So if I lag while doing this,
Okay.
I can. Am I lagging? Hello?
No.
no,
You're
you're
good.
good.
All right. Huh? Okay.
Don't lie 'cause you can't read.
1 through 3 are golden. One. Yeah, sorry, I'm cutting out. I can't read. Anyway. 1 through 3 are golden. 4th is a comedy. Through and through. The 5th is just bad. The real spear of Longinus. Is that really what it's called, by the way? The spear of
Yeah,
Lance.
the
Lance
lance of
Longinus.
Longinus.
Long enough.
It's the name of
The long lance is pretty much the name of it.
Yes.
No,
It's the real
the-
name for the Spear of Destiny. There you go.
Longinus is the Roman that
All right.
pierced
Yeah.
this rib of Christ.
Oh, the name of the person. I thought they were just saying
Right.
long, fancy.
No, it's not. It's not.
not how Latin works.
It's not long spear, but like, European way of saying long spear. Spear of
Could be-
long.
could be Latin. Could be
El
Harry
Zero.
Potter spell.
Terminal dogma of nerve headquarters.
You're gonna read the
I
rest?
feel
Yes.
like we extracted maximum value from that one just by having it read. So
Good.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Longinus means long, fancy.
Spear of long.
Oh boy.
Spear of
Copa, you wanna
long.
read this one, sir?
Yeah, hostman Socrates for $10 US says, here's a little idea. Indy goes on one last adventure with Short Round and his goddaughter, played by Anna de Armas.
I'm
Yeah.
good with that.
Right.
I'm good with that.
Okay, all right.
Amen, brother. That would have
Great casting so far. To find the spear of Saint Longinus and, and keep it from the Black Panther Party.
Oh my god.
Would watch. Would pay money. Yes.
Yes.
Dude,
I would watch that.
that would be an absolute banger.
If Ana de Armas was in this movie, it would already get like 5 points.
Oh damn. Look, the chat's coming up with better ideas than what we got.
Yeah.
Damn. Matt Cat, you want this one?
Yeah, from Gord King for $2. Indy 6 should be about finding those binoculars.
Is there a hell of binoculars?
Can the next one just be Indy in a wheelchair that's robotic and flies and hovers? So he just hovers everywhere. He's just Professor X. Except he's way older and also just senile, and he's just being carried by.
Marion, where's my insure?
Indiana Jones
I
and the
peed my
Care Home of
pants.
Doom. Yeah.
Change my diaper, Marion.
Cannoli, you want to read this one?
Yeah, let go of my bacon for $2 freedom US dollars. I heard Phoebe enjoyed punching Harrison Ford.
Yeah, she was actually asked about that last scene. The last scene when she swats him in the face to knock him out to prevent him from dying, even though he wants to. And she says it was amazing because it was really funny.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was so funny. I laughed so hard. Oh my god.
you know, punching old people in the face is apparently funny.
It's yeah.
Well, make
Matt
men do
Cat.
things
Hey,
against their
Miss
will,
Marvel did it.
you know?
Or not Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel did it.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I'm not
Sing
the
it
only
for him.
person who made that same mistake.
Matt Cat, this next one's for you again.
Oh, yay.
Because it's for you.
Oh, Nikki, how do you say Rilhan? Rilhan for two pounds. Matt Cat to the CIA. Oh, listen. I've had enough of this sabotage and killing.
Oh, that was good.
You're doing too much. Your father and I do one thing a day. That's what she would say.
Oh god. Bagface. you wanna read
Oh,
this one?
Linda's the greatest.
John the Man Good for $10. Sorry, I'm working so many questions. Sorry, I'm thinking that's asking. Working so many questions are why are American writers struggling so much with their writing while other countries are doing fine? Also, why aren't other countries' writers not striking also?
The irony of there being a typo in that one.
Well, he's working, so he's probably.
Oh, sorry, I'm working. So my questions are why. Oh, okay, yeah, I get that. You're missing some grammar in there. That's okay though.
Yeah, you suck.
He's working.
Thanks for your $10.
Take your money back.
Thanks, John.
Yeah,
I mean,
it would be
there
more
are
money
Irish
if he
people.
added. Yeah, any more punctuation, he'd have to pay more money.
Yeah.
Remember that thing with that Cynic was talking about? How America really loves money. That's why movies
Yep.
suck in America. That's why, because
Yeah.
their products, they're not meant to be art. They're not meant to be expressions of experiences. They are meant to be money making.
Consume.
Yes, that's it.
Well, it's
Capitalism.
an immensely homogenous corporate culture. So all of the same people are being hired for exactly the same roles, and the kind of person who might have a brand new, innovative idea is going to be excluded off the bat because they are heterogeneous to the actual, institution they're being hired by.
Yep.
And on the strike question, my impression is that Americans, bizarrely, are slightly more stridently even unionized when it comes to screenwriting than we are. We have the Writers Guild in this country, or a version of the Writers Guild in this country. But it's not a particularly activist union. And also, it's simply a function of your film industry being astronomically bigger than anybody else's. So these writers have much greater industry say than almost any other country.
These countries don't have the budget, nor do they have the problem with implementing AI to write their scripts yet. So as soon as you have both of those things collide, you would see something like that happen in those countries as well.
Also, the union itself does protect bad writers.
Oh, yes.
That's one of the problems.
Yeah.
Now, and with some of the things that are going on where the provisions they want put in that like there has to be a minimum number of people in writing rooms and stuff like that, it's going to only make it worse because now every one good writer is going to come pre-packaged with 5 bad ones that they're going to probably just, the good writer is just going to get drowned out.
It's also, it makes it less likely that you hire new writers to begin with, because if you've got a choice, it's the same, all union protective measures do this in one form or another, but let's say you've got, you have to hire a minimum of 5 people, and you have to have a minimum of 5 people at all times. Are you going to take the risk that one of those 5 people is a brand new entry to the industry who doesn't have much of a track record, or are you going to just hire someone you already know because, hell, you've got to make that quota, and there's a huge sacrifice if you get it wrong? It's an incredibly safe and restrictive move that precludes, again, more people joining the industry. And all of these protective measures always have that effect. So it won't help the problem in the long run. It might just make it a little bit worse.
Yeah, it's also there's just too many writers. So there's going to be there has to be a purge at some point.
Well, there's too many people calling themselves writers, whether or not we can consider them writers.
There's too many people with degrees that call themselves writers, yeah.
True.
Pen to paper does not make you a writer.
Hostman Socrates for $5. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I wind up getting Phoebe Waller-Bridge in an Indiana Jones movie.
Congratulations.
So how long till she ends up in a Marvel movie?
Oh, geez, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
2
They will cast
years.
her as
It doesn't matter.
Mary
They-
Jane.
She's already slated to run a Tomb Raider show, isn't she?
Yeah, but it just seems like all of them. These there's once you get into that scope, you do. It's different for everybody. Sometimes it starts with Marvel, then Star Wars, but it's like you're doing those. You're doing that. You're doing one property, and then you're also doing Star Wars and Marvel.
Well, she's already done Star Wars. She was in. Star
Well, yeah, but I said when she was in the Marvel movie because that's the one left. So you end up doing one thing. So it's like what's the one that everybody calls Ginger Jesus or whatever.
Freckle Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, Freckles Jesus, yeah. It's like she was in Star Wars, she was in Willow, and then she was in
Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not Captain America, fucking Falcon and the Winter Soldier, even.
And so it basically it's you do those two plus one other property. She's done her other property now, which is Indiana Jones.
It's like the idea that Willow is where careers go to die, and we'll never see her again.
Hopefully.
Well, I wasn't saying
incredible that they deleted an entire show. Like they just this is not even worth being on our stream. That is insane.
God, I love that. All the crap that they think is worth keeping on Disney Plus, and Willow is not good enough.
It's not good enough to be on a stream.
Well, there's a good one, the Gourd King. They'll cast her as Mystique, so they can just put her name in the credits, but keep using different actresses.
What was she in Star Wars? I don't.
She was the droid in
L3.
Solo.
The droid that Lando was fucking because we really needed that in Star Wars.
Yes. Man, Lord and Miller were about to make that movie, and then they just got rid of him for some reason. That's crazy to me.
Platoon. You want to read one?
I suppose I can, from John the Man Good for $5. I know fixing this movie is great, but why not get together and create something new with that indie charm? You have the connections. Why not branch out? Well, maybe we do. I'm not aware of any connections I have who can hand me $750 million and greenlight the film and give me a whole CGI department and marketing and all of that. Maybe some of you guys do, though.
Guys, I'm an elitist college student. I know where to go. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You know what I was going to say.
Sure,
all the Americans will
$200 million
bankroll it, too.
between us.
To answer the question as not on the nose style, but the reason why they don't make new stuff is because that's so hard to do.
That's hard, and people won't watch it.
And it's risky.
It's because money, that thing we were talking about. Yeah, they're investment products. You don't make new products when you could look at the iPhone. It's literally the iPhone in movie form. They're never going to make a new iPhone because if they did, less people would buy the iPhone. So they make the same iPhone.
Yeah, the question is really top down. It's not really like why don't more people like small independent creators just make big budget films? Is why don't studios hire more independent minded creators to help write their big budget films? Because these are the people who ultimately have to say as to what gets it all the way to the cinema. In terms of independent creators, though, I mean, I know quite a few of us here do our own little things in our own little ways, and maybe one day those take off. But the odds of that actually being accepted by a studio because we're not already there is pretty minimal, I'd say.
Right. And it's safe because it's a built-in audience. That's what they want.
Yeah,
they want that audience to transfer over from like the comic books over to the theater seats. Like, oh, I finally get to see, Secret Invasion.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
I clap.
Speaking of which, what are the
Dark
odds
hour.
of that? What are the odds that Nikki Relihan for £2? Is that what it is? Okay. Two not real monies would say Secret Invasion. Nobody watched the end. That was perfect timing for that one. What just said.
Actually, Andrew.
For another £5, every time Secret Invasion goes on, the Little Platoon just sits naked, contemplating apples instead.
That's not a Secret Invasion thing. That's just what I do all the time.
Nothing new.
That's what he's
doing
doing when
right
he's
now.
contemplating his script.
He could be doing whatever. We don't know.
One day a camera's going to accidentally turn on. We're all going to scream.
Can't wait for that.
He's in that same chair. It's just this setup, but just.
Oh, these are just Nikki Relihan's going nuts here.
Wow.
Damn.
Damn.
Got that super chat money.
I think Cynic. I think for this one you got to read it.
Let's say Nikki Relihan for £50, which is the equivalent almost of American money now.
I think it's like $53.
Yeah, it's
Would
like
be my guess.
Yeah.
it keeps going back and forth. For a little while, the dollar was ahead.
I remember like 15 years ago when your money was worth double ours.
It's all part of the plan.
Regardless of how Hollywood progresses, I hope everyone on the cast and chat carry on doing what they're doing now. We need you all. Well, thank you very much for such a kind contribution. Thank you. That's amazing. Jonathan Frost. Vex, you want to read this one?
Sure. Jonathan Frost again for $5. Thank you. I'd like to see a live action version of Clancy Brown's Lex in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
Okay, man.
I don't know who this is. So.
He's
Brown
old though. He's like so old.
He's the Kurgan from Highlander.
Yeah, he's like crazy old.
The Highlander. There can only be one.
But yeah, he was the whatever in John Wick 4. He played the like guy who
Oh yeah.
I don't remember who he played. He was like the one who said that they could do the duel at the end.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
With the real gravelly voice.
Yeah.
My first boat was called the Highlander, and not uncommonly while going through London, I would have people randomly shout out, "There can only be one." And then it caught fire and burned down and sank, and of course I couldn't get another Highlander because there can indeed only be one. So,
Copa, you want to read one?
The Gourd King for 2 freedom units. Pumpkin spice is a front to my people.
Yeah, pumpkin spice is gross.
Yeah.
I starred this one. Actually, this kind of goes back to the other one. Our boy Melvin. Americans are too noisy at the movies. Shut the fuck up and watch the film. We're taking our language back.
I can agree with that for sure.
There's a
How
give
dare
and
you
take
laugh?
There is a give and take there because yes, some people abuse it and get really annoying, but that's where you just go and get them kicked the fuck out like a grumpy old person.
Yeah.
There was
like a Henry Jones would.
when I went to go see The Flash, there was the guy next to me literally jumped out of his chair like 7 times. Every time there was like a cameo, he's like, "I fucking told you, man, he's gonna be in this," and I was like, "Dude, it's not that big of a deal. There's like 9 of us in here." Like,
You take the good with the bad because when it is a great movie and you're experiencing it together with a crowd, so you know it
No Way
kinda
Home
amplifies it.
was
yeah, like
so
No Way
good
Home, like
because
those
of that,
scenes
yeah.
with the 2 other Spider-Men. That
Yeah.
was actually legitimately pretty cool of the
I
moment.
was like
But then,
screaming like I was at the
theatrical
Super
experience
Bowl.
with No Way Home was crazy. I loved it.
Yeah, like when I saw Infinity War, that theater was fucking nuts, and it was
when he catches the hammer.
It was such a great experience, and
I-
I'm glad I lived in America for that one. I can tell you that instead of some fucking quiet ass, tight ass British theater. I'm like,
I
was gonna
put
say,
people who
you
clap in movie
bastard.
theaters in the same category as people who clap when the plane lands. So you're all
oh, no.
I am with
More
Platoon
proof
on
that
this.
British
I'm
people
with
are
Platoon.
boring, by the way.
Well, I am with Platoon on this, and I got it when I had my genealogy done. I'm 42% British, so that's probably just that kicking in.
Oh,
I'm
we
almost
didn't
as British as
die.
Why are you? Hey, you should not be wearing that
42%.
flag right
Yeah,
now,
take
man.
that shirt off.
I was born in America.
How dare you?
I mean, the other parts are German and like stuff like that. We fought them in
German.
wars too.
Platoon, is he one of the plants that you were talking about?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
That 42%
I mean,
is a
who else
sleeper
would wear a
agent.
shirt? I mean, come on, really? Would a real person that wasn't a plant wear this shirt?
Only
I
one
don't
that's
All I'm saying is
infiltrating.
that at one point, "God Save the Queen" will be blasted all over your radio, and his eyes will go red, and you'll know.
Just a bunch of people just randomly just go.
There's a reason why every one of my videos is so monotonous. I actually don't know. I don't have inflection in my voice because it's a robot voice.
You're covering up your British accent. Who was that? Matt Cat? Is that you, baby?
Yeah, from Nikki Relihan. I think that for £2. Rich Little is my favorite Canadian. Who's Rich Little? Canadians.
idea.
You Canadians.
There's
He's
2
so-
Canadians on the panel.
Yeah.
so-
Vex
See,
is
you
my
guys
favorite
don't know?
Canadian. So
Yeah,
No,
but yes.
the name looks familiar, but I don't. I
Vex
can't
is
say
trying to
who it
be
is.
not Canadian as hard as she can. So it's like-
He's moving to America, so she's just pretending.
Yes. Well,
Is that
Rich
like
Little
a-
is now
is-
my favorite Canadian.
Is
an
Rich
old
Little
guy.
like a Rick Astley type?
he's an 84-year-old comedian.
Usually.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Rich Little. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Cannoli, you want to read one?
Pootie Evans for $1.99. Thank you, Teddy, aka we have short rounded home.
Yeah, pretty much. I forget anything the kid says. He's just boring.
Yeah.
He isn't even annoying. He's just like
I only remember the
just
line
there.
about the plane.
Unnecessary.
he's just there to get the plane over.
Yep, he's there so that they have an escape plane. Guys.
He doesn't even need that because there's a pilot sleeping in the back. So
We need to wake him up. So he's there to wake up the pilot.
Bagface, you want to read this one?
Yeah, Nikki Relihan for $5 Emperor dollars. Longinus is the name of the toy my GF uses to peg me.
Nice.
See? I told you it means long staff.
Yeah, long. Spear of long.
Spear of long. That's
and
like a Lego movie joke.
I'll take the last one. Putty Evans for
I can hear
$4.99.
the headache in your voice. It's
Yeah,
giving me one. It's so
it's
impressive.
fucking
Hey,
killing
can
me
you
right
take
now.
the last one? Dude, you're aging. You're like 50 years old right now.
I know. Look at the wrinkles in my head for me.
You're just like,
Looking
Yeah,
like
someone
Harrison.
de-age Cynic so you can read this one.
Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny is a better Indiana Jones sequel than this piece of shit. I loved that movie. So
I liked Pick of
I
Destiny.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
I
I
did
like
too,
that.
yeah.
Perfect.
I
Where
like
the
that.
movie gets made out of a song that came
Dave
out like
Grohl as the
15 years
devil?
before it.
yeah.
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 Oh.
Especially Tim Robbins' part where he's like, "Catch me if you can," and he just kind of like saunters and limps away from the cops. Oh, it's so good.
A last one came in to round out the panel. Little Platoon.
From Romeo Tango N-word Zeta for $2 New Zealand dollars.
Wow.
That was so
Impressed?
smooth too.
Yeah, it was smooth. I almost got right by it.
Impressed this is still going. Nice. Rib Calculon. Rib.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went 5+ hours before.
We did.
I made it the whole way.
Yeah.
Nice.
Are you going to be on another stream talking about Indiana Jones now, Platoon, or is this the last one?
Fucking
thing?
hell, I hope not. now I'm just going to go away and do my huge fucking video on it. So that's fine. Yeah, EFAP Saturday, Brown yesterday, here today, and now I'm straight back to writing the script, and I'll be
You're
video editing for the rest of the week.
Drinker is
So-
100% going to ask you to come on the show
Oh,
now.
fucking yeah, that'll be... Yeah. God.
Shit. Well, I have a headache. If anyone didn't notice. So
Nope, one just
There's
came
another
through
one.
again.
Donate to long out the pain.
Who wants to read this one?
Oh God, this is a whole
How do you
other
pronounce
show.
that name?
Shahud Akbar for $5 dollars. I don't know. What does the panel dislike about Interstellar? He did say panel. I'm reading it correctly. No, I'm not. What do they think about Interstellar? Heard a number of times that people aren't fans of this film.
The ending.
The ending ruins
pretty
the
much
film.
the last like 20 minutes.
The ending
Dude,
was
stuff.
fucking terrible.
His daughter was annoying as shit too.
Also
Yeah, I
just
know.
doesn't
How
exist.
He
dare
says
you
Murph-
go and
he says
save the
Murph
human
a lot.
race?
He says her name
Murph.
a lot.
And then when was it Jessica Chastain? They figured out one problem or whatever, and she just takes her papers and throws it into the sky like,
Eureka,
"Woohoo, Eureka, we found it!" Oh my god, just get
Good
the
movie,
fuck
but
out of here.
the last act was bad.
It's been so long since I've seen it, I probably can't really say. It just struck me at the time as trying to do 2001, just not as good.
Right.
Right.
For
And-
every good thing was a bad thing.
Yeah, it looked pretty.
Yeah, I really
Hollywood
like
has
the
also
production
spent
quality
way
of it, but
too much money trying to save Matt Damon from planets, and I think we should just leave him on the next one he finds himself on.
That's not. Yeah,
The one
that's
good
cool.
thing I will say is anytime they do like relativistic time travel, I do enjoy that concept of like, speed going at excessive speeds and like higher gravitational pulls and stuff will cause time to be displaced. But other than that, I didn't really like it.
That movie's perfect in every single way. Y'all are
I
fucked.
mean, I like it. I just don't
it
like.
feels
the
like a
ending.
stoner
Perfect.
movie.
This is a
Perfect.
10 out of 10. There is
You know what,
nothing
Backface?
wrong with Interstellar.
You can come
Not
on.
a thing.
You could,
Listen.
Backface, you can come on MMM and talk about it someday.
Hell
How
yeah.
about
BRBA Turner again. We miss him.
Yeah.
that? Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to bring him on this stream.
You should have.
Does he
thought I
like
saw him
this
in the
movie
chat.
though?
I don't know. We probably could have just eased right into shitting on Zack Snyder stuff.
Just tell him
Yeah.
Snyder did Indy 5, and then we'll have someone to defend it.
You just don't understand.
Listen, he doesn't
Time
bend the
travel
knee,
makes
you know?
no sense, but yeah, but in the next one, in Indiana Jones 6, it would have been the Martian
It hasn't been
Manhunter.
written yet.
No,
Do it.
nope. The show goes on.
Self-care, that doesn't
well
exist
done,
in
it-
America.
I mean,
Sorry.
we do. That's the last. That was the last super chat.
Super
Anyway.
No,
Chat.
it does. But there's a lot of people on this stream. Do people want to plug anything? I'll just I'll send it out there. I'll send out a net. Does anyone
How about
want to plug anything? Anyone got anything?
I think
going
most
on?
of us had Indy 5 reviews come out
Yeah.
in the last
Yeah,
couple
just
of
go
days.
see our Indy
so-
5 reviews.
Go to the channels. and
Yeah, literally go to everybody's channel and watch their Indy 5 review. That's all I can say.
Everyone's channel is in the description. And everyone on this panel is worth subscribing to because they all make awesome content and they're all fucking great. So that's why they're on this show.
Can I plug?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I spent an ungodly amount of time on Cynic's indie video, so go watch that because
Beautiful
mine
video.
is not. as
Yes,
That was great. Yeah.
Bagface fucking knocked that indie video out of the park for me. And he's going to be doing a lot more videos for me in the future because of it. So
What you can't see is that there's handcuffs actually handcuffing him to his desk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ankle.
No, the
Can't
handcuffs
believe
are underwater.
Yeah, yesterday I needed him to reply to something, and then he just DM'd. He's like, "Sorry, I was in the basement," and I was like, "Ah."
Nikki Relihan for £2, by the way. Canadians don't know Rich Little. Shaking my head. There. I just figured I'd just get that one started for you right off the bat.
I appreciate you. Yeah, subscribe to everyone here because they're fucking bitching. So
You can also tell me if I'm doing terrible on my videos. I'm okay with that because it's comments and it helps. So it's, if you hate my video, that's fine.
I'll call you a racist if you don't like my videos.
Yep.
True.
Yep. But yeah, so I'm gonna go take care of my headache. But I will see everyone next week. Platoon and I will, and probably a few of these people on this panel will be back. So don't be surprised.
Also, before the stream ends, hey everyone, go subscribe to Movie Cynic. I need him to hit 100K so then I can finally get him to watch Arcane. Thank you.
You should watch Arcane anyways. It's
good.
so good.
I will. I'm working my ass off to get over 100K. Then I'm gonna take it like 5 days off. I'll take 5 days off.
Yes,
I'm actually just looking forward to not having to do any bad movies for a while. Hopefully,
Well, Oppenheimer's coming out and Barbie, so you got that.
Barbieheimer.
Busy July. Yeah.
Barbie.
Well, I don't have to. Those ones are not like ones I'm too worried about. Like the next one that I definitely 100% have to do is the Marvels, and I got plenty of time for that. So I could do fun projects for a little while.
That would be nice.
I'm gonna make a Barbenheimer video where I review both of them at the same time.
I was thinking about doing it that way. Yeah.
Good idea.
I'm gonna split down the middle. One side I look like the guy, and then the other side I look like Barbie.
like
Copa's channel is in the chat too, by the way. I edited it, so it's in there. And if you're catching the re-up and finishing this, they're in the description there too. But all right, everyone, taking off.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.